Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call.
Yeah, I'd like to, can
Go ahead.
I have been advertising for new deputy clerks, and this is one, her name is Elaine, don't tell me, I'm having to see Moran, yeah, M-O-R-A-N. She had a great one-page resume she sent me. I didn't know her, and I don't know a lot about her, but she was enthusiastic, and she wanted to get involved in the community, so she's here this evening. My other one is the guy named Chelsea Grubb. I know David Connie, but I don't think they were related. It's another excellent one-page resume. And I'll tell you something about Chelsea that was interesting. I forgot about this, but she reminded me that when I was the first sergeant in Iraq in 2006, I was her first sergeant. I don't forgot about it. But she's going to be, as a matter of fact, she was going to be doing the meeting tonight. But she said I had a conflict because her husband didn't know she had a meeting tonight, he's at work. But she says she's going to fix that and it won't happen again. But my plan is to have Chelsea and do committee meetings or take Paula's place, and Elaine do these, and then after 6 months switch them. That way they're all going to be familiar with every board and commission that they do minutes for. They're going to be familiar with all the members. And it also makes the payroll. And so I'm excited about her being here, and she's excited to be here. So, and I wanted to say something about Paula. She may try to get here later this evening, but she had a family situation, so she'll get here later if she can. So anyway, that's introduced Elaine. So anyway.
Take the roll. I can take the roll.
Yeah, we got it.
You got it? Okay, good.
I told her that what I do is I just look to see who's absent and present. I don't go through, because if I'd say Christie Ball, I don't care. Sure, it speeds things up.
Is there any public comment?
I've held back for a few weeks. I've got a lot on my mind, but I know I'm limited on time.
You don't mind.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Gray, it's basically, I'm concerned that you seem sort of like you're distant from everything going on. I do want to say that in my household only, the water has gotten better. I mean, every once in a while there's that chlorine, but the water has gotten better. So if you had any part to do with that, thank you for that. But I don't know whether it's because we have new trustees here and a couple of old ones, but it just seems like you're not with us. I feel like you're not hearing us, and that's a concern of mine. And I want you, Dell, did you bring Debbie? Because I'm glad you're sitting up there. Oh, by the way, before I forget, Jewel wanted to know if you had that ISO report. I know I was going to forget. But as I left town this morning, heading to Springfield for work, I looked around, and it was just one of those mornings to look around and you really appreciate living in the village of Chatham. Keep it a village of Chatham, Mayor Gray.
Okay, thank you.
Keep it that way. I'm not quite there yet. Okay? Keep it that way because I want to see changes. We're not going to go away. Yeah, we got trustees in that a lot of us voted for, and I do see, little changes happening. But there are still big pictures out there, the debt that we have out there. And the only other thing I'll say is I have a question. Last week I asked Mr. McCord if he had turned in and changed his time, and he said yes, September 4th was going to be his last day. He turned his paperwork into you.
Yes.
Did you accept that?
Yes.
So it is in writing that as of September the 4th,
That is Dell's retirement day.
that's his retirement day. And Dell, I don't bake, but I can get you a hell of a rum cake, okay? But with that being said, I want you to consider, Mayor, I want you to listen to the village citizens about replacing Mr. McCord at the rate of pay that he's at. With the debt that we have, you have made it very clear.
That's up to the village trustees to set the salary for that position.
Okay, did somebody, because you made it very clear, it's your choice on who's going to be the village manager. You would listen. Yeah.
No, actually, that's not quite accurate.
Okay.
I said I would listen to everybody. I don't have any preconceived person in mind. I want to hire an outside professional, somebody that has either a master's in public administration, master's in business administration, has experience with utilities, has experience in managing people, so that, but I know no one in that field. So it's going to be wide open and open for interviews. And
Now, you're not adamant that it has to be somebody outside the village, correct?
that's correct.
You're just gonna look outside the village and open it up that way.
Right.
But you're gonna sit here and tell this room that you will listen to the trustees and they will have a say in who comes in there, correct?
I don't see how it could be otherwise.
Well, probably because I'm misunderstanding the comments you made before. So I'm just clarifying, okay? I thought you had the right to take whoever
That's
you wanted.
that's what the law says.
Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
Neil?
I wanted to address the branch pickup.
We need the name, please.
Neil Young, sorry, Lane, I'm Neil. The branch pickup changes aren't working. Branches don't come down once or twice a year in May and October. Branches happen all year round. I understand that there are all kinds of reasons why policies get changed. Maybe once a month is too much. But we do have the Chatham 311 app. I don't see any reason Public Works, with the help of the trustees, or somebody can sort of come up with a better plan than you get it this day of the year or you don't get it at all. It's just not working. Not everyone has access to a truck to load up their own limbs and take them out on a weekday between 9 and 3, or every third Saturday, I guess. So I'd like to see that addressed and get a better policy. Whether it's once every 2 months, you got everybody puts it in through the 311 app, you know exactly where to get them. You don't have to, like the old days, I guess they would just wander around the neighborhood looking for branches. That's obviously not efficient. But we have other options now. So I'd really like to see that addressed, and I want to get my branches picked up more often. Thanks.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to approve the minutes for the administrative committee for our last committee of that. Joe put those together.
Yeah, I have them right here. What's on there is the ones from 2 weeks,
Okay.
2 meetings ago, but they're right here. I didn't know whether we wanted them on there since that's the committee to whole, since we're in the committee to whole, this was admin committee.
Yeah.
But this is it right here. Welcome to take a look at them, and then why don't we pass them out, take a look at them, and then at the end of the meeting, approve the minutes, and then if
Okay.
anybody has any changes. That's my suggestion.
That's fine. All right. Moving on to old business. I know at a couple committee meetings ago, we had talked about the storm, the community center and the storm, or being a storm shelter or not being a storm shelter per se. And I just want to follow up. I had checked with Joe Pritchett of the Clarion, and I thought we had agreed at that point that we were going to put in a notice about that, and I don't think it has been put in there outside of maybe if you reported on it in the article. So, I mean, is that something that we're still wanting to
Yeah,
post out
I
there?
believe it still needs to go in there. Multiple media sources with us. I think we should put it there, and, you know, a lot of people don't get the Clarion, so even put it in the SJR. I mean, I don't know what it costs, but, you know, should have it both.
Or we can get it out,
And even on the 311.
311 it, why don't we 311 it instead of, and
Ealer,
in
yeah,
South County publication?
yes,
Well, we
I
can
agree with
also
that.
put it, try to, and I discussed this last week, putting it on our bills, on our utility bill. Because that way, everybody knows, and everybody gets a utility bill.
I think that's good.
Is that something that, we did, can that be added, or we don't know yet?
Well, we were going to check, see if we had enough room on
Okay.
that time, but exactly, what we said was that community building is not posted to be a pre-event shelter, and that when Hero is going to come to the board to present his final project, that we would notify in several ways. We would put it in the Clarion, we would put it in the SDR, we would put it on our webpage, Facebook, Twitter, and we would put it in the SJR. So that was out of the May 19th, you're right.
What's that?
That was out of May 19th.
Out May 19th? All right, when is Hero gonna come do his presentation?
Well, that I'll have to check. He was out of town, took a couple trips when he finished his report, so I
Okay.
had hoped it would be tonight, but it probably then will be the next meeting.
Okay. I mean, I don't know the rest of the board feels, I personally would like to see it pumped out sooner rather than later. So maybe put it in the Clarion and get moving, you know, and then we can follow through. Just because storm season is in effect and it seems like it drags later and later each year, and that way people have some notice of it.
Well, and then put an alert out and then
Sure.
put something on our website.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I know one of my concerns is, and we talked about this also, is that some people have already had to be turned away.
Right.
They've been there in a storm situation and couldn't use it, so.
All right. Moving into new business, as you're well aware, we're short a village attorney. We're going to be conducting attorney presentations and interviews tonight, and I believe that Mr. Keynes is here to present, and I believe that we're going to be interviewing and listening to 4 different attorneys and firms presenting for the spot to be the village attorney. Mr. Keynes?
Thank you, Trustee Boyle. Does anybody need one of my proposals that I submitted on May 12th? Everybody has theirs?
I don't have it, but I've read it. If you want me to have it while you're going over it, that's fine.
Where do you want me?
I think right over here.
Can I have one?
Thank you, and appreciate the opportunity to discuss my qualifications for the position of village attorney. I'm Scott Keynes. I've been an attorney for 23 years, and I recently retired in January from the Sangamon County State's Attorney's Office, where I, for 15 years, worked in the civil division representing Sangamon County government, providing legal assistance, legal advice to elected officials, to county departments, virtually every county department. Yeah, I retired. It didn't take long to realize that I maybe shouldn't have done that. I opened up my own practice at the end of February. I was retired for about 4 weeks, and so I have a handful of cases, but if selected to be your village attorney, I would be able to make the village of Chatham and this board my top priority. I have a couple of large civil cases that I'm working on right now, but nothing that would prevent me from making this village board my top priority. I practiced governmental law for 21 of my 23 years of practice. I spent 6 years at the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency doing environmental enforcement, policy making, rules, procedures. The director's office at the EPA assigned me to develop some environmental policies that ultimately were placed into effect, and to this day I have a good relationship with folks at the Illinois EPA. For the last 15 years, I was an assistant state's attorney in Sangamon County, civil division. We had several attorneys in the division. If you folks want to look at the list of representative governmental clients at page 3 of the proposal I sent in last month, take off my glasses so I can see. I handled a lot of zoning cases. I represented the Zoning Board of Appeals. I handled litigation against violators of zoning ordinances. Represented the Planning Commission as well. Most recently, represented the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, was Neil Williamson's legal advisor, and for 2 months after Wes Barr took office, I was in his office almost every day. I provided legal assistance with respect to personnel issues, with respect to the Illinois Freedom of Information Act. I know that FOIA is a hot button item in municipalities in all areas of government, and I have presented I've attended seminars, and I've also presented at seminars regarding the Illinois Freedom of Information Act and the Illinois Open Meetings Act. I've represented virtually every Sangamon County department, handled all kinds of issues, all kinds of questions, but my primary areas of focus were environmental and public health with the state EPA and with Sangamon County representing their public health department. And one of my most proud moments was when the Sangamon Valley landfill was ordered closed by injunction. I negotiated with the new owner of the landfill, the reopening of the landfill. We provided for residents in the area upgrades with respect to roads, public water supply. We had the new owner of the landfill put in water lines to 88 homes, and so they didn't have to drink well water in the area of the landfill, if you can imagine the taste of that water. But in any event, the negotiations that we entered into with Allied Waste and their attorneys from Chicago, we were able to provide tipping fees that go straight to the county general fund that now exceed over $350,000 each year. So that is something that we did to benefit everyone in Sangamon County, reopen a landfill, and provide upgrades for all residents in the area. I know we're running a little bit behind. I want to talk about, just briefly, my proposed fees that I submitted in the letter of May 12th. I had suggested a rate of $140 an hour. I would like to clarify that if selected, $140 an hour would be the rate for legal services. Phone calls, emails, talking with you about issues, no charge. I'm not going to charge you for phone calls. A lot of larger law firms charge you 2/10 of an hour, a quarter of an hour for a phone call or an email. I'm not going to charge you for that. The work I do is what I will bill. I'm my own law office. I don't have to answer to senior partners. I don't have to answer to, I don't have to answer to anybody. And so,
Are you married?
Sorry, like this lady. Happily divorced for 18 plus years. But I could probably use the rum cake though. We like this lady already.
No, you don't. Yeah.
Also, Mayor and trustees, for my services at meetings, I would charge a flat rate of $140 per meeting. If the meeting lasts 45 minutes or an hour, it's $140. If it lasts 2 or 3 hours, $140. I think it's the right thing to do. When it comes to representing government, I've learned that you try not to overbill, you try to do the job as best you can. Working for Sangamon County, we got a straight salary. It wasn't a whole lot as far as lawyers are concerned. But here's the thing, we always worked, we did the job, and I'm not in this to get rich, I'm not in this to bill, I'm in this to serve the board and the community. And with that, I guess I'll open things up for questions.
Any questions? Board members?
Scott, what's your experience in municipal law and guiding boards such as ours?
I have represented county board, the Sangamon County Board, and various committees of the county board. I was the legal advisor to the Solid Waste Management Committee, Environmental Committee of the county board. Also provided legal advice for the Sheriff and Jail Committee, represented the Zoning Board of Appeals, attended Regional Planning Commission meetings. So I have not represented a municipality because for the last 15 years I worked for the county and could not. And prior to that was with the state EPA. So as far as municipal law experience, I have none, and I'll be very open about it as far as representing municipalities. But I had nothing to do the other night. I got out the county's code and the municipal code. They're very similar. In fact, they're next to each other in the statute books. So while I have never represented a municipality, I'm fully capable of it. I've represented something a little bit larger than a municipality, one of the largest counties in the state.
Have you ever been an attorney for a meeting? I know you said you've been to zoning board of appeals meetings and stuff like that, but have you ever been the attorney for a meeting, a committee, a board, something along that lines?
Yes, that's a good question. I have served as the attorney, legal advisor for various county board committees.
Which ones?
Solid Waste Management Planning Committee, the jail committee.
And through those, I mean, obviously they have had to follow the Open Meetings Act. How much public comment was there in those meetings?
Solid Waste Management Planning Committee, we had various committee meetings in a trade school gymnasium on Sangamon Avenue, a Lutheran school and church up on Sangamon Avenue, regarding the Sangamon Valley landfill. And there was a room probably with probably 25 times as many people that are in this room, and I served as legal advisor for the Solid Waste Management Planning Committee and the hearings that we had regarding the dissolving the injunction with respect to the Sangamon Valley landfill.
Okay, I know you said that there's a lot of issues, and I would agree with you in terms of what's in the county's code and what's in the municipal code. What are some of the differences?
Well, many of the differences relate to, for instance, annexation. Counties cannot annex other counties. There's annexation provisions. Some of there are more similarities than there are differences. I'm trying to think some of the other differences. Has to do, the county's code does not describe the various forms of government. There is one type of county government that is prescribed, whereas in the municipal code, there are provisions for commission form of government, strong mayor, aldermanic, the mayor-aldermanic form of government. So there's various differences there.
You'd mentioned FOIA. What's your extent in handling FOIA requests?
I was the Freedom of Information Officer for the Sangamon County State's Attorney's Office. We received hundreds of requests every year from people wanting their case files, for instance. I also was the legal advisor for every single FOIA officer within Sangamon County. Anytime the sheriff would get a Freedom of Information request, and they would receive 15 to 20 a day, as I'm sure your police department receives numerous FOIA requests, people interested in their report, people interested in their neighbors' police incident reports. My experience with that was I would read the reports, I would do the redactions on the large ones, the small ones that were not going to get a lot of media attention. We had Freedom of Information officers who would handle those. If they had questions, I was always available and always accessible to them. The ones that were going to receive media attention, the ones that were going to perhaps result in litigation, I handled those. And I would spend, literally, days going through large files, homicide cases and doing redactions in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act. And so that is one of my strong suits, and I would be happy to advise any department within this village with respect to FOIA.
In regards to nuisance ordinances, what has been your work on those?
On nuisance ordinances, we had in the area of public health, when I was representing that department, there were various ordinances with respect to fly dumping, open dumping, things like that. I don't know that I ever dealt with a noise ordinance, Trustee Scottman. I don't know that I ever dealt with that, but I dealt with issues like fly dumping. I also drafted a dangerous building ordinance that expedited the process to have a building declared dangerous administratively without going to court. And we ended up having a very successful project in which we declared the Pine Meadows Mobile Home Park in Auburn Every one of those mobile homes were declared dangerous, and ultimately they were demolished, or I believe Mr. Narmont did move some of them down to Macoupin County.
Is anyone from management? I was gonna say, if management has questions, what questions do you guys have?
I deal with annexations, annexation agreements, covenants for subdivisions, review, bonding, making sure that the bonding is all put together and stuff. And I call our attorneys all the time, asking them to review that, prepare those for meetings. We also have a code enforcement officer that enforces all the violations in the village, from nuisance to trash to dogs to boats in the yard. We have a court that usually goes once a month that the attorney is required to come down and be our attorney against the offender. Do you have experience in those items?
I've handled, yes, that's a great question. I've handled many cases with respect to ordinance violations, especially with respect to trash, fly dumping, abandoned vehicles, things like that. And you know, I handled many of those. When I first started in Sangamon County 15 years ago, I filed probably 60 ordinance violation cases in circuit court, and those were quickly resolved within a few months. People were paying fines, and the word got out that we weren't messing around with trash anymore, and folks were doing a much better job of cleaning themselves up. But we, you know, I filed probably, I think, 60 ordinance violation cases in the first few months I was there. With respect to annexation, I don't have experience with that because Sangamon County cannot annex, you know. But I am good friends with a couple of attorneys who I share office space with. They represent some municipalities and have done annexation agreements. If there were anything like that to come up, it wouldn't be a problem for me to handle.
Brian, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
As far as zoning's concerned, were you or one of your staff, the county specifically, in charge of handling any zoning? I mean, what kind of background do you have as far as zoning?
With respect to zoning, the county has a zoning administrator, and zoning petitions, variances, additional permitted uses were all submitted to the zoning administrator. If there was anything with respect to those issues, they would come to me and request an opinion. I would render opinions in certain instances. I primarily would handle legal issues at the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that's been probably 5 or 6 years ago that I last did that. But I've also filed suit over zoning cases, zoning ordinance violations, in order to get persons to comply with you know, the county zoning.
I have one more question. Oh, sure. I deal with building codes on a daily basis. Have you handled anything like that?
Yes, I'm familiar with BOCA.
Okay.
And probably the last time I had anything with respect to BOCA was probably about 13 years ago. So it's something I'm familiar with. It requires research. It requires analyzing the code. That's something that I'd be very comfortable doing.
Scott, you mentioned that you talked about your fee a little bit, and you said $140 per meeting. Since, I mean, the last attorney that we had came to our board meetings. When you say $140, I think one of the things that we talked about internally was we wanted an attorney not just at the board meetings, but at committee meetings as well. So would that be included as well, or are you just talking about the board meetings?
Well, no, that's a great question. I was unaware that your prior attorney did not attend committee meetings. I think it would be important to have your attorney at the full board meetings and the committee meetings. And so I understand that you have board meetings every other Tuesday, committee meetings every other Tuesday, so 4 meetings a month roughly. I would be happy to attend those each Tuesday night. $140 per meeting.
And you don't have bowling on Tuesday or anything like that?
And the best thing in the world is I can control my, I coach little kids in basketball, and I coach Little League baseball, and I can control those schedules. I've even looked at my baseball schedule, and I have no Tuesday games. And then we are done with our tournament the middle of July. In the event that I have a Little League game or an board or committee meeting, I think it's fair to say that I would be here.
Do you have any questions for the board or the mayor?
I don't, but thank you.
Anyone else?
It was good.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have, I believe, Miss Raylene DeWitt Grishow from Henshaw Culberson.
You did pretty good with the name. I was going to say, you just call me Raylene since everyone starts with my name. Give me a second here.
OW or AW?
I'm sorry, what?
Is it AW or OW, Crenshaw?
Hinshaw. Hinshaw, yes. Is it AW? H-I-N-S-H-A-W, yes. Sometime my presentation, I'll send you that to her for if she wanted to see us spell it. Okay.
Thank you.
Everyone ready? Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Raylene DeWitt Grishow. You can just call me Raylene since my name is very challenging. I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I'm from a small town, much smaller than Chatham, Toulon, Illinois, which is northwest of here. Attended Illinois State University, went to law school at Washington University, took the bar exam for Illinois, and then moved to Colorado and decided to take another bar exam. I don't know why, but I did. Practiced in Denver, Colorado for a while, and then my husband's job brought us back here to Springfield, Illinois, where I joined the firm of Hinshaw and Culbertson in 2001, and I've been, 2002. And I've been with Hinshaw ever since. I'm a partner there. I specialize in municipal law, employment law, and I'm a civil litigator. I am the direct opposite of your last presenter. I come from a big firm. Hinshaw has 525 attorneys. We are in 11 states and over in London. But I don't want people to be intimidated by our size because we are big. But we have the local small town flavor. Our Springfield office only has 9 attorneys. So I believe what Hinshaw has to offer everyone is that we have a nationwide presence with huge resources available to us at our fingertips, but we still have that local flavor because all of our attorneys in Springfield are from the community, and I think everyone except for me probably grew up in the area. So even though we are big, I do consider us a small town service law firm that is mindful of everyone's wants and needs. In my request for proposal, I didn't bring extra copies, but I do believe people have them. I've outlined some of the talents that we have locally with the attorneys in the Springfield office, and that's what I focused on. I personally don't believe that our talent can be touched. We have talent from the federal, state, all the way down to the administrative agencies, and have vast array of experience in appearing in front of all those entities. I want to tell you about some of the entities that I personally represent, because if Hinshaw is chosen as your counsel, I would be your primary contact person. I would be the individual attending your meetings. Unless there was a conflict or something, I can always send someone else if you want, or I don't know if you guys have the phoning capability, if there's inclement weather or something like that in your ordinances, but I would be your contact person, and I would tap into the resources of the other attorneys if needed. I'm currently the attorney for the city of Auburn. I've been the attorney for 7 years, I believe. My firm also represents the Springfield Mass Transit System, the bus system. We represent the Springfield Airport Authority. I'm also the attorney for the 911 board. We represent the University of Illinois on employment matters, FOIA matters, Open Meeting Act matters. I recently have been retained by the Clinton Sanitary District for an employment workers' compensation matter. And we too represent the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. I represent the department on their litigation and on their employment matters. If there is collective bargaining problems with the employees and they go to arbitration, I handle all those. And I handle the litigation for the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. Constitutional claims, tort claims, anything that goes to litigation is handled by my firm, and I've been a lucky one to be able to handle those types of cases. When I first started at Hinshaw, I did a lot of personal injury, but since then my practice has migrated over to the municipal law, employment law aspect, and then like I said, I'm still a litigator and share that practice with me. I don't know if the board is interested at all. I brought just some, I guess what do you call it, news blurbs that show some of the successful victories that I've obtained for clients. They're all separate ones here. I don't know if you want to pass them around. I wanted to, if the board had noticed in the request for proposal that I sent to you, I have recently began authoring a quarterly newsletter on FOIA and the Open Meetings Act. I don't know if anyone receives it here, I hope so. Our goal was to send it out to all municipalities, and hopefully you guys receive it. If not, there were some examples in my proposal about this newsletter and the topics that it touches on. We try to touch on the latest issues on FOIA or open meetings and bring that to municipalities to help them. I have defended Open Meeting Act cases. I've defended FOIA cases in court. In fact, I defended the Chatham School District on a FOIA Open Meetings Act lawsuit, and I think the hearing officer, Esther Seitz, she was the attorney that's when Esther and I first met. She brought the lawsuit, I defended the lawsuit, and I think everyone was happy with the outcome. I don't know if anyone's interested in my litigation outcomes, but I represented the McLean County Unit School District on a discrimination case that went on for many years, but I obtained a successful verdict on that, got it dismissed on summary judgment. I just recently had a trial victory for Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. We had a defense verdict defending some of the police officers there who were out on patrol. I also had another case where an inmate sued the police officers for constitutional claims, and I was successful in defending that case as well. I am currently defending Auburn Police Department on an excessive use of force case, and I have numerous cases going on right now for Sangamon County with regard to constitutional claims that are all going to go to trial this year because our officers did not do anything wrong, and the settlement demands are just too exorbitant, so we're confident in going to trial and hopefully securing a defense verdict for those. As I said, for the University of Illinois, I'm currently defending a discrimination case on that, and we've defended the University of Illinois on FOIA claims and Open Meeting Act claims as well. I'm trying to remember anything else, but that is basically the extent of my presentation. If anyone has questions for me.
I have one. I see your fee proposal is $200 an hour. And as you heard Mr. Keynes before you talk, we would like you to be at all of our meetings for a month. So would that be $200 a meeting, or how would that work?
Well, I had proposed that at $200 an hour, but if that is going to be an impediment to our being retained, I'm sure that an arrangement can be worked out. Otherwise, it could be $200 a meeting as well. Unfortunately, I do have to get clearance from my superiors, but I have yet to get big resistance on something that I have requested from them. So. And my Auburn City Council meetings are on Monday night, so that would not conflict with any of the Chatham meetings as well.
Great thing.
Oh.
I'll ask the same question I asked Scott. Can you describe us more your experience with municipal governments and legal advisory to the board?
Well, I attend all the Auburn City Council meetings. I attend the SMTD meetings, their municipality as well. The 911 board, I attend their meetings. I'm the acting attorney for all those meetings, so I'm constantly attending those meetings and advising them on FOIA. If they have FOIA questions, they call me. You won't believe all the FOIA requests we get for 911 and all that. And I haven't gone to the airport authority meetings, I know someone in my firm has. So I attend the meetings all the time and I'm constantly advising them on the FOIA and Open Meeting Act issues and stuff that arise.
Do you assist like Auburn with drafting the ordinances?
It's like constantly draft ordinances. I think I can do them in my sleep.
Are those, in consulting us questions, what is that hourly rate that you're looking at, or do you just consult the mayor?
I'm sorry, could you say?
Like consulting questions that we have, what is that fee? Is that gonna be an hourly fee, or is that included?
You mean with telephone calls and
Yes.
everything? I do that based on if you call me and we just talk for a little bit, there's no charge. If we talk for an hour, then I have to be honest, yeah, I will probably bill you for it. But the, mundane little calls that you give all the time, no, I don't typically bill for that.
Do you see there, and this might be far off, but would there ever be a potential conflict of interest in terms of you representing Auburn and Chatham, considering our borders are getting closer and closer?
Don't give away our battle.
That's a very good question. I'll admit to you, I had not considered that. I don't know, there's still a lot of cornfields between you, but I don't envision anything right now. The only thing that I hadn't really thought about would maybe be the fire. I don't know, do you have a volunteer fire department, or do you guys actually have a Chatham? Because I know that if anything, I would think maybe that might be Chatham, or Auburn has a volunteer fire department, but I do know their needs are increasing, so I don't know if they would reach out.
The fire department's separate from our village.
They are separate? Okay, then I don't envision anything at this time, but that's not to say.
What about in regards to economic interests? In terms of economic development, where we may be going after some economic development, and Auburn may be going after something very similar as well. I mean, they might not be in the same boat that we are right now, but still, you have the Route 4 corridor.
Right. I will tell you that I don't foresee that for Auburn because of past experience, but we seem to get a lot of resistance when it comes to that path, so I know they want it, but then other council members seem to resist it, and so far we haven't been stalled in any of those efforts. I don't foresee anything in conflicts with that. If there is, we can deal with them, and I know that's not what you guys want to hear, but I don't foresee any conflicts at this time.
Besides litigating, what's your experience in direct, like personnel matters?
With all the employment issues that I deal with, I do have a lot of small businesses. I've written employment manuals, and I've litigated actually a lot of employment issues with regard to wrongful termination and all that. So I believe I have a great experience with regard to employment issues, whatever may come up, whether it's discrimination, termination, hiring, firing, putting them on workers' compensation leave. I deal with all that as well.
In terms of nuisance ordinances, I'm pretty sure Auburn does not have an administrative adjudication process, and you know that we do. Have you ever dealt with administrative adjudication process before?
Not specifically, I've been in front of administrative agencies, but not the nuisance court as what you're referring about. But if it's my understanding how that works is we still have the burden of proof to prove up that's no different than a civil trial that I defend. And so I'm well aware of the rules of evidence and what's needed to prove and defend a case. So I don't think that would be a problem at all.
What do you know about Chatham Water?
Not much. I don't know. I do know that there has been some animosity, is that putting it lightly, that's going on. I know that some people aren't happy with it, but I haven't dove deep into the issue, and I think that might be an asset to me as I can come in with an open mind, not knowing where everyone falls on the issue, so maybe I can come into it with an open mind and evaluate it and maybe help everyone come to a nice conclusion.
You had questions, Ryan?
I asked him the same question, the zoning and building, with Auburn, with respect to them, do you have much, I mean, is there a lot going on with that? Because it seems like here every day, there's something going on as far as zoning and buildings. I was curious as to what you do and how you handle those situations.
I'm currently involved in a zoning lawsuit with the city of Auburn. I'm defending them on that. That's the only zoning issue that has been litigated in the court, but I am constantly advising them with regard to issues that may come up that the zoning board may not know about. Buildings, I haven't dealt personally with any dangerous buildings. We've been trying to get ordinances passed regarding the demolition and all that of buildings, but it's a really cost prohibitive thing for Auburn at this point. So, with regard to Escott Boca and all that, I have had litigation with regard to the Boca code that has not been in the last 3 or 4 years, but I have dealt with the code as well and researched that, so I can do that again if they need.
Pat, I know you have.
I wondered about turnaround time on writing ordinances or reviewing annexation agreements. A week?
Oh, easily, yeah.
Easily?
Mhm. The only way that I would not be able to do that if I were in trial, but trials come few and far between. And if that is even an issue, I could probably, jump on to another attorney in my office. I could get that done. It shouldn't be a timing issue at all.
Would you anticipate yourself attending most of the meetings, or would you have your associates attend most of the meetings?
That would be me.
Are you on any committees with the Illinois Bar Association?
The Illinois State Bar Association?
Yes.
No, I am not. I was when I was younger, and then I had a child, and that requires a lot of travel up to Chicago, and I chose to step down from committees since,
Understood.
yeah. So I used to be, but I am a member.
And which committees were you on?
I was on, I think it was, man, you're going to test my memory now. I knew you were going to ask me that. It was with regard to writing legislation to submit for the Illinois State Bar Association to support. I can't remember the name of the committee. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Do you have any questions for the board or for the mayor?
I guess the only question I would have is to when you expect to make a decision and how people are going to be notified about that.
Will be very quickly. We need to get legal counsel on board, so.
Yeah, I would imagine within a week or so, I think we'd probably have come to a decision on it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know.
All right, next presenting, we have, it says Sorley Northrop Attorneys. I don't know, Mr. Juergens, I think, is going to be presenting for Sorley.
Thank you. My name's Jeff Juergens. I think you have our proposal in front of you. There's nothing more exciting than a room full of attorneys, so I'll try to maybe keep this brief. But I wanted to start kind of like with Raylene, give you a little bit about my background and why I'm here. I, from a very young age, was always interested in government and politics. I was very fortunate in high school to do an internship in the state legislature, in college, in the governor's office. In law school, I went to college at Illinois State, went to college at law school at American University in Washington, D.C. Out there, I was fortunate to work on Capitol Hill with various federal agencies and eventually in the White House counsel's office. When I started practicing, I came back and started practicing with Sorley in 2000. I found it a very natural fit to start working with units of local government. And my kind of love and passion for government really fits in with representing municipalities, cities, townships, those types of government bodies. In 2005, I was given an opportunity to join a firm in Chicago, Ansel Glink, that specializes in representing municipalities and units of local government. So I took that opportunity. I was there with Ansel Glink for about 5 years, represented several municipalities as the lead attorney, represented several others as special counsel doing various projects. And in 2011, I was invited to come back to Sorling Northrop as a partner. And I decided to do that for a couple of reasons. One is that the people at Sorling Northrop is a very good practice group. The attorneys there are very good people to work with, and so I very much wanted to return to that type of working environment. The second reason was that with Sorling, I would have complete control over my clients. At Ansel Glink, again, a very good group of attorneys, but there it's a very structured system, and if I wanted to provide a discount on a client bill, there would have to be a structure I would have to go through, and it was very possible that they would say no. As I became more mature in my practice, I realized I don't want to have to practice that way. If I want to give a client a discount, if I think perhaps a project should have cost X, and I want to charge X, lower it to X, then I wanted to be able to do that. I thought that was good client management and a good way to do business. So the partnership and the structure of the two firms were different. I ultimately liked Sorling significantly better and decided to come back to Sorling as a partner, and have been back here since 2011. I currently represent as the lead counsel the village of Rochester, the village of Forsyth, the village of Sherman, and the city of Bloomington. Now, I obviously can't do all that by myself. I've got a great team of attorneys that I work with. Angela Jimenez is kind of my second hand. She was going to be here tonight, but got called away to do a presentation for another community, and so was not able to be here. But I also work with Angela Fiennes, who had 2 or 3 years in the state's attorney's office as an assistant state's attorney. She then worked for about 10 years with the city of Springfield in-house. She worked on their labor issues and prosecuted their administrative court violations. She helped set that system up for the city of Springfield. She works with me on a lot of labor issues. She represents a lot of bargaining units for various municipalities, does a lot of contract negotiation, employee issues, does a lot of employee investigations and different things like that. She also attends meetings and writes ordinances and everything else that a municipal attorney does. The other attorney that is helping us is new to our firm by a few weeks, and his name is Tim Palin. He started his career as a police officer, went back to law school, then for a couple of years served as an assistant state's attorney. He then served for a couple of years for the Police Benevolence Committee, Labor Committee, doing labor law. He then switched sides, went into private practice where he represented municipalities and did labor on the municipal side. So Tim has joined our firm, and he is now also helping us in our municipal practice. Again, he attends meetings, he has municipalities that he represents, and does the day-to-day municipal work as well. Some of my experience, I think over my career, I've been the primary attorney on about 8 different municipalities. I've served as special counsel to at least 15 other municipalities, whether it's labor issues or other kind of specific projects. I've handled annexation lawsuits successfully, at least 2 lawsuits that I can think off the top of my head, where we had to get involved and litigate an annexation issue, and there was a successful result in both of those cases. I've handled FOIA litigation. I've written chapters for ICL and in the IML handbook, at least ICL on FOIA, and made several presentations on FOIA in the Open Meetings Act. I also have given a presentation on ethics as it kind of relates to the municipal government, including, kind of who's your client and those types of issues. So I've got a lot of experience, not only kind of speaking at seminars, but also writing for publications that publish on municipal law. Some of the different things, my experiences, some things that pop out, I attend a lot of zoning commission meetings, do a lot of zoning work, do a lot of drafting of ordinances, obviously, but also a lot of work on kind of process and special projects. For example, with the city of Bloomington, we just got done rewriting the procurement provisions, how they contract, what's the most efficient way to do that, while also making sure that everything is being bid competitively and the best price is getting made. One of the things that we're working on there now is they've hired an audit firm, not your kind of typical annual audit firm that comes in and does your annual financial audit, but another audit firm that comes in and just looks at very specific processes that you have within your municipality. And I'm working with them on a lot of how to improve some of the processes within the municipality.
Was that Azavar?
What'd you say?
What, was that Azavar that you hired?
It's Bronner, the Bronner Group.
Okay, very good.
And I've been very impressed with them. The reports that they're generating and the timeliness has been great. But I really enjoy getting into some of the specific projects and the processes, how to make things, operate better within the village or the cities and getting those improvements put into place. I'm sure there's a lot I'm probably missing. We also have some other associates that do work for us, that attend meetings and that help us with research and those types of things. I like to think that based on my experience and really just, I feel very gratified. I'm able to basically do 100% of my work every day is working with municipal clients. And, that's what I love, and so I'm very happy about that. I feel very fortunate about that. Because of that, I hope to bring a lot of efficiencies to the table. A lot of ordinances that we've already drafted in the past, issues that we've seen in other communities that we can bring answers to this community to. So there are a lot of efficiencies that we would try to bring to the table. Our proposal was for, I believe, $170 an hour. We have some communities that are a little more, some that are a little less. It's no two communities is alike. And so, really what I try to do is when I'm working with a new client is, what's the municipality's budget? What type of framework do you want to work under? But I've got a lot of flexibility there. So, we propose we could do kind of a mixed, retainer. I understand from the previous presentations you're interested in having somebody at every meeting. That won't be a problem. I will tell you, at least your council meetings, I would probably attend those, the regular meetings initially at least, until you were comfortable with having Angela or somebody else, attend those, and she might attend those also with me for a while. Of course, we would not charge for two different attorneys, but we do take very much a team approach to our clients and making sure that somebody with experience in that issue is the one dealing with it, so that you get the most efficient and best representation for those issues. Happy to answer any questions.
Ask the same question?
You want to ask a question?
You actually hit the question I asked, but you mentioned Foresight as one of your clients. Were you with Foresight as they went through their process of recruiting and changing village administrators? Or is that...
Yes, I've been through two village administrators with the village of Forsyth. I've been through the process with other communities as well. And I've seen communities use, different processes. They used a different process each time. And so, but I have been through that process.
Obviously, you have a lot of municipal experience, which I appreciate. Question that I would have is, you said you also represent Rochester. If there would be a opportunity for Rochester to become part of the South Sangamon Water Commission and leave CWLP, would there be a conflict of interest with you being our attorney and their attorney as well?
I have to look at that, and probably, it's not uncommon for conflicts to come up in communities, especially in an area our size. If we were to determine that would be a conflict, we would probably utilize special counsel in one of the municipalities, and that's not uncommon. That's fairly common. There are a number of attorneys, many of them in this room, or outside attorneys that I've worked with, at Ansel Blake and at other firms, who can come in and on a special project, really kind of pinch hit in a situation like that. So if that were to become a problem, I'm sure we could get that resolved.
Ryan.
Were you on board with the city of Bloomington when they adopted the 2012 International Residential Code? And do you remember if you were a part of that, did you guys discuss the energy code options?
I was not, I don't believe I was on board with them at that time. I've been with them since early 2014.
Okay.
But I have had clients with issues with the energy code.
Okay.
And I've seen clients do it in a variety of different ways.
So you are familiar with that, the way the code is written?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm currently working with someone from your firm. They're working for a developer that's trying to develop a piece of property down here in Chatham. How do you handle this?
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. My understanding is we do have an attorney that represents Apartment Mart. That representation obviously was long before the position became available. With that, assuming that the village needed counsel on that, we would, again, that would be a time where for this kind of isolated time, we would recommend that you utilize special counsel on that. And then going forward, we'd make sure that we did not have conflicts on that. And we would look and see exactly what is it that the village needs in terms of representation, and we could help, make sure you had somebody good to assist you with that. But, as opposed to trying to get waivers on both of those, I think it just makes more sense in those cases to not have any appearance of a conflict and to make sure everybody is adequately represented. And I have no idea if that's even a controversial thing or not. I would just always suggest that you not have dual representation on something like that.
I wanted to see what your suggestion was.
What do you know about the Chatham water issues?
Very much like Raylene. I don't know a lot other than that there's obviously issues and there have been issues. And it's those types of projects that I very much like to get into and involved and figure out solutions. Part of being a municipal attorney is you've got either a problem that you need to solve, and so the attorney comes in and helps you figure out how to solve that problem, or you've got something you want to achieve, and the attorney comes in and helps you achieve that. The nice thing about being an attorney for a local government like the Village of Chatham, as opposed to the federal government or the state of Illinois, you guys have an objective. We're all actually going to see that objective come true. We're going to see that economic development. We're going to see the street repaired. We're going to see the fruits of our labor. You don't always see that, in these other larger governments. So with a project like that, I don't know the details of it, but it's issues like that I've dealt with for the last 15 years.
Do you currently have any clients that have an administrative adjudication process?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. We just created administrative court in the city of Bloomington. I served as an administrative hearing officer for Schaumburg and for Rolling Meadows when I was with Ansel Blink. Angela Fians, as I said, was a prosecutor in administrative court, and Tim Palin, the other attorney I spoke of, he's been a municipal prosecutor for some municipalities with administrative court down south. So we do have experience with administrative court. I know you guys are up and running already, but that's something that is certainly not going to be foreign to us.
Do you have any questions for the board or the mayor?
I don't think so. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. I'm sure this isn't the most exciting night of your lives, but I do appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Hepler Broom. Stephen Kaufman is here to represent them along with, looks like, other attorneys.
I think Steve, you guys, to get on camera, have to, whoever's presenting.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for the opportunity to address the board. We would be very excited to be the Village of Chatham attorneys. A little bit about me and our office here in Springfield. We have 7 attorneys in Springfield, firm-wide.
Excuse me, can we have your name, please?
Stephen Kaufman.
Okay, thank you.
Firm-wide, we have 115 attorneys spread between St. Louis, Edwardsville, Springfield, and Chicago. Virtually all of the work would be done for the Village of Chatham through the Springfield office. I'm going to introduce in a moment Andy Carruthers, who is really a legitimate municipal attorney. I am not. I'm here to introduce him. I'm the partner of his. And also with us is Jessica Delanos, who's an associate with our firm working in Springfield, and she would be assisting Andy quite a bit. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, went to college in Galesburg and Knox, went to law school at Northwestern in Chicago. My wife and I have lived in Springfield since 1982. I was with the Sorling Law Firm for 20 years. I left there 12 years ago to join the firm in Edwardsville. You'll appreciate this because I didn't move from Springfield when I went to work for Edwardsville. I commuted for an hour and 15 minutes each way. Why? So our son could stay at Glenwood and play sports.
Right there.
Near and dear to everybody's heart. And in 2006 and 2007, David was a quarterback for the Titans and then played second base on the baseball team. So it was well worth staying. When it was time to move, I'd actually talked our firm into opening the Springfield office, and that happened in late 2007. When we started, it was me and a tenth. We now have 7 attorneys, and things are going quite well. What I would bring to the table, if our firm is selected, is being able to engage in high-level, very complex litigation. That's what I do. That's what I've done for 37 years. I am one of the principal litigators in the firm. I hope you don't get involved in litigation, but if you do, you will have the resources not only of our Springfield office, but our entire firm that could be brought to bear. I have been involved in municipal litigation before. I've actually represented the village of Chatham in the 1983 action. And I dealt with Chief Holm on that. The case involved an alleged illegal repossession of a car. We ended up settling that case on a very favorable basis. I represented Granite City, City of Springfield, in some high-level complex litigation. So that's really what I bring to the table. I think it's more important that you hear from my partner, Andy Drudd.
T-H-E-R-S. All right, as Steve said, I'm Andy Carruthers. I'm a partner at Hepler Broom. I've been at the firm a couple of years. Prior to that, I was a partner at another firm down in Madison County that also specialized primarily in municipal law, local government representation, that type of thing. I have, as Steve said, I am probably the one at the firm with the most municipal law experience. I split my time between the Edwardsville office and the Springfield office. I have an actual physical office in each location, so I service clients both in the Metro East area and also in Central Illinois. At present, I am the village attorney for the village of St. Jacob, which is a small town in Madison County, if you're familiar with it. I believe its former mayor was the head of the municipal league for a couple of years, so you may have known of that town and of him through that. He's not the mayor anymore. His successor hired me, so I've been there for a few years. And through my service as the current village attorney for St. Jacob, I handle all matters that you would expect throughout municipal law, and including what I did right before I came over here, preparing the resolutions and the ordinances and reviewing the agenda for this coming meeting that we're having on, I think, Thursday night, making sure everybody has what they need in advance. This morning I was in court with my mayor. We have a couple of ordinance violations. I think there was a question before of the previous presenter about that, and, you know, I have plenty of experience there prosecuting ordinance violations and the like. In addition to St. Jacob, I was formerly the village attorney for a small town called White City, which is in Macoupin County, directly to the south of us. Also at my prior firm, I assisted with some municipal clients that we had. We represent the village of Elsa, also the village of East Gillespie, which is also directly south of here. At present, in addition to St. Jacob, I also represent the village of Maryville in sort of a special capacity. I represent their Board of Police and Fire Commissioners. I also represent the Board of Police Commissioners for the city of Troy, Illinois. I believe you also have a police commissioner system here, and of course you have the fire district, which is separate. So I represent the two boards in Maryville and Troy in that capacity. I actually serve as a police and fire commissioner myself in the city of Edwardsville. So I have a service in that capacity as well. I'm currently also the appointed zoning hearing officer for the village of Hamel in the city of Staunton. There, and I believe you still have and probably for the size of this municipality, it probably makes sense to continue to have a zoning board of appeals as opposed to a singular zoning hearing officer. But those two communities elected to abolish their zoning board of appeals for the most part and go with just a single attorney to take the evidence and make a recommendation. In some cases, a decision on whether a variance should be granted, a zoning change should be granted, special use permit, that type of thing. So I serve as the zoning hearing officer in those two towns and have for the past several years. That's the extent of my current municipal clients. In my prior firm, we focused primarily, we had a few municipalities, but we focused primarily on fire protection district work, which is, as you know, are subject to many of the same rules as municipalities, specifically with Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. Which is something I know that we all continue to try to deal with, and presents us with both opportunities and challenges since they made those vast revisions to both statutes a few years ago, I think 2009 at this point. I also, along those lines of OMA and FOIA, I make regular presentations at various conferences and before groups on both of those, on FOIA developments and OMA developments. Annually, I put on that update at the Fire Protection District Annual Convention of the Statewide Association of Fire Districts. I've also been asked to put on other seminars and webinars on those topics for various groups, Statewide Water District Association among them. Through my service to the fire districts while at my prior firm, my former partner, Jim Sinclair, represents about 90 different fire districts, and I had the opportunity to work with, we picked up several while I was still at that firm, including Chatham, including Sherman, and many others in Sangamon County. So I am somewhat familiar with Fireside of Chatham. Of course, it is a separate entity, but it was my first connection, of course, to the town, and I was we're fortunate to represent that district for the last couple of years while I was at that firm. In addition to my service as an attorney, as a municipal local government attorney, I also have experience as an elected official and appointed official. I was just recently appointed by Governor Rauner to serve on the State Board of Elections and was confirmed last week, so I'm going to be taking that on July 1st. I also previously was elected as a park district commissioner to a rather large park district in Collinsville, the Collinsville Area Recreation District. It's a park district, about 40,000 people in it, and its own interesting challenges. I served as president of that board, and among the things we had to deal with was debt. That's always an issue for many units of local government. Among their type of bonds they have is alternate revenue bonds. I believe the debt that you have is also primarily with alternate revenue bonds, if I'm not mistaken, double barrel bonds. So I do have experience in dealing with those debt-related issues. And I've also served, of course, in political capacity. I've served in many volunteer boards on municipalities, Village of Maryville. I've been on their Plan Commission, their Parks and Recreation Committee. So I have lots of local government experience, not only as an attorney, but also as an elected official and as a appointed official within village government. So that's my background, really, in municipal and local government work. We, at our firm, we view this, Village of Chatham, we have several of our attorneys in our firm have a connection to town. You know, Steve lived here, I think, for some time. Tom Wilson, our partner in our Springfield office, lives here and is a volunteer fireman for the Fire Protection District. Jessica lives here, and I believe Mike does too.
His kids go here.
His kids go here. His kid gets, and that's what, so they go here as well. So at our firm, and especially our Springfield office, we have a lot of connection to the village of Chatham, and we're very excited about the opportunity to potentially represent you and serve as your attorney. As Steve said, I would be helping you primarily with the assistance of Jessica and some others. So we really look forward to any questions. And Jessica, I don't know if you want to say anything, say hello.
You can certainly answer questions first.
Okay.
And then I'll say hello.
Sounds good.
I have a question. What, I'd say it sounds like you had a pretty impressive municipal background and involvement, both as an attorney and outside of that. But what kind of, I know there's no guarantee, but how do we make sure as Chatham that Chatham is number one on your list if you're our attorney?
I would make sure Chatham's number one on our list, I mean, as opposed to other clients?
Yeah.
Or, well, the...
Just coming to our meetings and...
Sure, and by the way, we fully intend to make all of your meetings, as I always tell my municipal clients, and how often they want us to come to their meetings, I find is primarily dictated on whether, how much they have, how much they have to devote to legal, because every time you call us, every time, we show up, I mean, as you can appreciate, there's costs associated with that. I find that the smaller the town, the less they kind of want us around. So what I like to tell municipal clients is, especially when we get started for them, is we can be there as much as you need us. If you need us at a meeting, we will be at that meeting. If you need us at every meeting, we'll be at every meeting.
And I don't know if you were here when we were discussing it, but we said we'd like to have somebody here at our committee and board meetings as well, so.
Certainly.
At each of our meetings.
To represent, there's a real benefit for me that I've noticed over the years in working for municipalities and all units of local government. It's the benefit, and you don't always find this when you practice law, it's a benefit to work with good people who want to be where they are, and they want to do a good job. And that's really the best kind of client to have. It's a really, and I think Jeff may have touched on it in his presentation, it's a real rewarding area of the law to be involved in. So to answer your question, I mean, we will be there when you need us, whether it's a committee meeting, whether it's during the day, whether it's a regular special meeting, whatever it takes. Just in giving you an idea, I know when we worked for the fire district at my old firm, we were often coming up in the middle of the day to meet with the fire chief, the trustees, whoever, to deal with whatever the issue is. And issues can come up. And the other neat thing about municipal work is the issues can just come up, without a lot of warning. And you need an answer, and you need it right away. So I fully understand the expectations that come along with municipal work, and I certainly think that we're set up for that.
And also, based on that time commitment, as far as the per hour rate goes, is that what we would be expected to pay for each meeting that you're here, or how would that go?
I can answer that, I bet. And don't go away, Andy.
Oh, okay.
You've got all the answers. But I did want to address something that you asked about, Mr. Mao. Our firm does not have conflicts in this area. Andy's experience in municipal government is downstate. We're trying to develop our Springfield office here, and we're very aggressive attorneys in our marketing and what have you. We're not going to stop until we represent everyone. Okay? There are only two kinds of people in the world: clients or potential clients. That's our job. But we're not presented with conflicts involving Rochester, Auburn, land developers, and things of that nature. We've proposed hourly rates for our work. They're very reasonable, we believe, for this type of work in this area. We don't want your decision to be determined solely on cost. We're below some firms, above other firms, but what you're going to get is real value with us. And, we make that pledge to you.
Now, I know a couple other
We're just kind of tag team things here.
Yeah, a couple of the applicants have a set amount per meeting. Are you saying that you want a set amount per meeting, or are you saying it's going to be per hour? So if it's 3 hours, it's 3 hours of whatever the cost is.
We could do that. We would entertain something like that. Generally speaking, because we're a litigation firm with some new municipality experience in Andy, we're geared up to handle things for clients on a per-hour basis, okay? But we can be creative in that
At
regard.
the same time, if it's
Yeah.
15 minutes,
Exactly, and Andy and I don't need to go check with anybody about fee agreements. We have that authority to make those ourselves. And so I just want to make the point that it's negotiable. We want you to pick the best attorneys that you feel are for this job and not make it totally dependent on cost. But we certainly appreciate that that you have budgets to be concerned about.
and the other question is, I know you say you've represented many different communities, and I know you said St. Jacobs. I do not believe they have an administrative adjudication process, do they?
Not in,
Have you represented a community that does have an administrative adjudication process?
no, I mean, I've served, as I said, I've served in, as a prosecuting attorney, and I have also served in a quasi-administrative capacity in that I'm the sole determiner of zoning issues.
zoning.
But no, we don't have that process set up in these communities yet.
I know that Mr. Boyle has been curious about what we know about the water situation here in Chatham. And so I'll anticipate that, Mr. Boyle, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's hard for me, by the way, to call him Mr. Boyle. Because when we moved into the Glenwood School District in 1997, and we all remember what happened in the fall of 1998, right? This guy's catching balls in the end zone, state championship. I was there. It was pretty amazing. But we can't forget Mr. Clinton either. Sports heroics. But anyway, we're really tied. My family, Jessica, Tom, and Murph, we're really tied to the city of Chatham. We love it. Have been subscribers to the Chatham Clarion, which is so neat because it's like a school newspaper almost. But to get to your question, anticipated question about water, all I know is what I read in the paper. And I don't come to the table here with any preconceived notions about the situation. But honestly, if that's a situation in which litigation is involved, whether you're the plaintiff, whether you're the defendant, that's where, frankly, I would come in with some expertise in some areas. I was involved in defending a large case for CIPS over in Taylorville involving childhood cancers. Water was a big issue over there, and so I do know something about water. And then also we have a large case in Champaign, Illinois for that same client involving water issues. We're also very close to a Springfield law firm that is very much involved in environmental matters. Work together closely with them. So I think we would bring, God forbid there be litigation, but in the event that there would be, we would bring a lot to the table to represent the village.
Any other questions? Pat? Ryan?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for the board or for the mayor?
We do not. Raylene asked a question I think we're all curious about and heard the answer. And again, we thank you very much for the opportunity to be considered for Village of Chatham attorneys. We'd be very excited to do it. We dedicate our firm to doing it, and you get great representation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Take a recess? Take a brief recess. Thank you.
See you, Steve. Once we come back, then we'll...
I'm Alex Rubin, and I am a real Doing good, staying busy. I'm tripping. You know, it's the simple things, isn't
Exec session?
I gotta say, when did we sell these five? They're not. Here's that money to pay for them this
I don't think, yeah, I don't think selling these five would be any squad car.
Well, no, they might be saying that was squad car across the camp. Because that's the roughly what I use, I'm rid of that.
There's only a certain way we can get rid of that, and auction or through bids. Bidding doesn't do any good, and not through
I'll take some over
I would just give them this. I would just paraphrase or whatever you're gonna do. That's all it is.
That's not
Bring the committee back into session, reconvene. Next on the agenda item is annexation project update. And Mr. Alex Raven, who's representing us with an update on that.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name's Alex Raven, and I am the village attorney right now for Chatham, at least on this limited project anyway. I'm a partner at Scrohan, Rahan, Raven in Springfield, Illinois, and one of my areas of practice is municipal law. It was really nice to meet some of the new trustees tonight. I think I've known everybody else in here for a very long time. I was born and raised here in Chatham, graduated from Glenwood, and currently live here with the wife and 2 kids. Let's get right to the annexation project. Annexation project, we've got a bunch of homeowners that want to belong to Chatham. And in this particular case, we started out, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. There you go, petition. The homeowners have the option to sign a petition, and typically you get one homeowner who decides, I want to be part of Chatham, and they're not yet contiguous. So they say, well, let's do an annexation agreement. Chatham says, that sounds great, and when we're contiguous, you'll just automatically be part of Chatham. Well, in this case, you've got 104 parcels. So to literally write annexation agreements for every single parcel would be awfully tedious and painstaking, and it would be better just to do them all at one time. Thankfully, the Illinois Municipal Code gives you that option under the annexation statute section /7-1-2. And as that states, the owners and the registered voters in the areas can sign a petition that they want to be annexed in, and then we go ahead and prepare the appropriate legal documents with the appropriate annexation plat and get that approved, make sure it's accurate, and get it approved by the court, and they're annexed in. Okay? That's if everything goes super smooth and there's no issues. And so far, it's been so good. Go ahead and change the slide pack. You're probably going to have to go about 3 or 4 times because the statute's really long.
Nice draft.
Thank you, sir. I thought you'd all like to have a show after this. Keep going, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, 2012 project. This really started in 2011 and in 2012. And at that time, it included 77 parcels, and I've even included the old annexation map that have been drafted by the engineers for that project. Since 2012, obviously, there's been a lot of houses built, there's been a couple new streets and neighborhoods developed, and a lot of ownership changes have happened in those years. So the 2015 annexation project has required a lot of updating and work, and Mr. McCarthy, you can go ahead and go to the next one. So the new project is going to include, and you're looking at the handout of the map there, it's not an actual plat of annexation. New project is going to include 104 properties, and we have been busy updating every single parcel with the ownership information, with the new registered voters, and with sales data sheets. Next slide, please. In my opinion, this is my opinion based upon my research of this and what I've seen so far, the benefits of annexation to the homeowners any of you who are Chatham residents already know this. You got Chatham Police, they get Chatham Road Crews, they get better real estate taxes than if they had been annexed to Springfield, which isn't even on the slate. And they get a favorable, some of those people currently have the rural electric rate, and hopefully they get an inside favorable rate once the annexation is complete. And second of all, if we get the one parcel in there, it belongs to the Chatham Fire Protection District, and hopefully that can pave way for them to build a new house someday in the annexation. Most of these properties right now are in unincorporated Sangamon County. They're not in Chatham, they're not in any other village. Perceived disadvantage, Chatham's rate is 0.6665%. I feel like for that fraction of a real estate increase tax, it's far outweighed by all the benefits we just spoke about on the previous slide. Next. Updated all the ownership. We've tendered the information on Thursday to Green and Bradford to prepare the new plat for the 2015 annexation. Next legal step in the process, after the plat is returned, I will start drafting the actual legal document called the petition with all the owner and registered voter consents. And then I'll probably be, once we get that rolling, trying to stop by the village and keep them updated on at least a monthly basis. Next, please. Questions for the village?
What's your anticipated time?
That's a great question. The timeline, it's already taken, I'm a very positive person, and I like to look at things and go, oh yeah, we're going to get on this, we're going to get this done in 2 weeks. This isn't a 2-week project. It's already taken about a month longer than I expected to get it off the ground. I would hope once the plat comes back from the engineers and surveyors, we can have this, rocking and rolling and hopefully filed within 2 to 3 months after that. And then it's a very short process after you get that petition filed.
And in that 2 to 3 months is the signature gathering? That's what you
Yes.
anticipate happening in that point in time?
2 months, yeah. Update everything, every single signature, and then we'll go around, knock on doors and talk to everyone, and they're already talking about it.
Have you enlisted the Fire Protection District people on the library?
I have been meaning to call the Fire Protection District over and over and keep getting distracted. I will contact them tomorrow and talk to them extensively, let the village know what they have to say, if anything. I know one of the homeowners associations says that they're very favorable and positive and are looking forward to it, and I will contact the library district as well. Haven't done it yet. I wanted to get to this point first and talk to the board before I went forward.
Did we have a pre-annexation agreement? I mean, I know there's no such thing as a pre-annexation agreement, but didn't we have a pre-annexation agreement?
You do, and now you have pre-annexation, you have annexation agreements.
Yeah.
Out there with some of these people, and you had one with one of the neighborhoods. But those annexation agreements will just automatically, they just get subsumed with this annexation.
Sure.
Yeah. One of them for the neighborhood expires coming up this month, so they're looking forward to this as well.
So but don't we give them currently inside water rates with the annexation agreement that we currently have with them?
Inside water, favorable electric, yes.
Protection also.
So they get police protection. So then, if that thing's expiring, then do they still get the inside water rates, or do they now get the outside water rates starting in, once it expires?
That would be a legal question.
Well,
I think we would accommodate.
yeah, it's really the village. If the village is going to accommodate them and, allow it, that's really what it is. Now, as far as, I don't know what their electric service will do. It's been like that for 20 years though, so it might just stay the same.
And we just weren't able to get the paperwork together to annex, to complete the full annexation. Because under a pre-annexation agreement, should I say, doesn't the full annexation normally just occur if you become contiguous?
When you become contiguous, yeah.
And we're saying that they're not contiguous yet.
They're not there yet. That's correct, Mr. Trustee.
Did your proposal say 100 homes you want to annex into?
It's 104 parcels.
104 parcels?
Yes.
Now, is that going to hinder the school district? Are they going to be able to handle?
They're already
100
in
kids?
the school district.
Oh, they are?
Yes, sir.
Fire?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting all the services that you and I get right now.
Pat, by looking at this, do you have any concerns, questions, or?
No,
I mean, I know
we prepared all
class.
the parcels and gave them to Alex. You know, the thing that kept us from being able to follow through with this annexation was essentially 3 or 4 parcels that are farther south from there. We could not, they're owned by trust.
They're in
And the
trust.
only way to get them to annex to the village is this forced annexation. So we have to go through this process. When we do, that will annex us all the way up to Chatham Road from the south.
And this allows the fire protection district to build the second fire station on the east side of Chatham. And now there won't be an issue with, I mean, we could, you know, if there was something to happen to the underpass right now, and there's a train or issue, they can't get over there. So this resolves that protection issue.
Great thing about this project, I think it's a win-win for everyone. It's one that the residents are going to enjoy, the town's going to benefit from, and something that everyone can support. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Appreciate your
Thank you all.
time. It's great to see you all. We'll keep you in touch, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move forward, I'd like to have an executive session after our last. So, when we discussed moving the
Legal.
small vehicle or the small moving vehicle to now, right?
Yeah. I don't know if Pat got
I don't
that.
think it's on there.
All right.
Wait, if we're gonna add an executive session, I think we need a.
He motioned, as I said, I don't think Pat heard him. So Matt made a motion,
Go into an executive session.
At the end, yeah, you need a second.
The hiring of outside legal counsel.
Matt made a motion to go into an executive session at the end of the meeting. Need to add a second. All in favor?
For legal or
Personnel.
personnel?
Personnel.
No, we'll hire,
Who was the second?
personnel and hiring of outside legal counsel.
Who was the second?
Nina, trustee Lindhorst. All opposed? Hearing none.
Need a roll call.
Voice vote, yeah. All right, you want to,
Yeah, but, Mr. Loftus has come to our meeting, again this evening. If you recall, he's the one that had the monster golf cart out here, several weeks ago. We would like to, for the board to act on, and I know we were all emailed things from the chief and from Deputy Chief Foley, as to where our thoughts are on this moving forward and passing an ordinance to get, to make these legal or not legal on the streets of Chatham. So what is?
I went through the research that Chief Holman shared with us, and I tried to look at the communities that had implemented this. And at first, I didn't see much issue with it being any different than a vehicle. But I don't know from my standpoint, I don't know if our community necessarily fits well with this given Route 4. And I understand we're limiting just to crossing and whatnot, but it seems just to be I could understand limited to neighborhoods, but, and I don't know how we didn't do that or what kind of resources we have for enforcing that, but to me, it just seems, with the vehicular traffic down Route 4, I'm a little bit leery and concerned a little bit about safety.
I know there's currently two different laws on the books. It says, one, you can cross, what was it, the main intersection 30?
Yeah, you can
and
cross.
45?
Yeah, you can cross any intersection as long as the state route is not above 45 miles per hour. And it has to be signalized if it's above 45. So essentially, under state law, with a low-speed vehicle, with a non-highway vehicle, that you could cross at any point as long as since we're not above 45 miles per hour, whether it's signalized or not signalized. Now, you couldn't take that vehicle on Route 4 And I believe you cannot take that vehicle on Walnut because that is a state route as well. If I.
No, it's a county route.
The county route, okay.
Well, and my hesitation is currently our infrastructure's poor. You know, if you drive through neighborhoods, it's not the best roads, conditions. To put something else on there at this point, my goal is to improve the infrastructure first. I did ask many people in the community their input. I think nobody was like, absolutely not, except for I was surprised how many seniors were not for it because of safety. And they said the kids that are in their neighborhood, that they would be concerned of it. So that was actually one group I was more surprised, because I said, won't you guys enjoy having that? And many of them had said, no, it's kind of something we're a little bit behind, or we don't agree with.
Then because, if we choose to go against it, then because state law says they can already do it, we need to make an ordinance saying they cannot do it.
No, not for those vehicles. State law says for low-speed vehicles, such as the one Bonnie has, you can do it. For non-highway vehicles, they are not allowed unless you pass an ordinance.
Well, and I would say too, if we get better roads, you know what I mean, if we can start taking care of our infrastructure for future, where it's safe. I run the roads on a regular basis. I've ran everywhere in Chatham. They're not built well. I mean, I know I'm hopping side to side to avoid holes. I would rather address that issue first before we start putting more motor vehicles onto the roads. I mean, I think and again, that's just something that, there's 3 major points that I feel like we had to address when I was going door to door. Infrastructure is number 1 or 2 on that list. And I'd rather focus my attention on that and our leadership right now. And it does not mean in the future we can start to address those problems and take care of our roads better and our infrastructure, that it cannot be a possibility.
I personally think it's a great idea. With given the different safety things that Chief John, your last name likes me now, but with the different things you sent us, and as long as we incorporate all those things that you sent us, I believe that protects Chatham, do you agree that that protects Chatham from?
I think the ordinances that I sent you address that.
Okay. And the different safety things that you sent us also.
Yeah, and Joe, I could be reading wrong, but the way I read it, they are allowed now, unless you pass an ordinance not to allow it, or not to allow it on certain roads. And that was my concern, was you need to address it one way or the other, either not allow it or only allow it on certain roads. Unless I'm reading it wrong, it does say golf carts, and it addresses what the state law allows.
Sounds like a good opinion for everything.
Yeah.
In state law, in your research, John, state law allowed for a non-home rule community to issue permits or licenses for this?
Yes, any municipality can do that.
Jack, how many, you said Jacksonville has this as well?
My name is Jack Loftus, and I'm the one with the golf cart. And you're always going to have potholes, you're always going to have problems with roads, but my golf cart is built for state law. It is street ready, it has turn signals, flashers, mirror, got everything that's required by the state of Illinois. I had a chance to talk with the chief deputy briefly, and if I'm correct, he said that basically if it met all state laws and Chatham laws, then he really wasn't opposed to it. We've got over 100 new senior citizens coming to Chatham in the next 3 to 6 months. I live in a senior 5-star facility out south of town. I'm the first resident there. I've been there 6 months. There's going to be a lot of people that have golf carts. They ride them on the premises, they do now in different places. There's over 15 towns within 30 miles that have the ordinance that allow golf carts in their cities. I can get a list for you if you want them. I just think that Chatham is growing so much, we should cater to some of the senior citizens. Someday you're going to be a senior citizen. I can save a couple $1,000s a year by going to the store and getting milk in a golf cart, and I can't drive in my new car. You know, I can save money, seniors can save money. I see motorcycles and mopeds and scooters on these streets in Chatham that don't have any license, they don't do nothing. Nobody enforces them. I see $500 cars out there that shouldn't be on the street. But, and I spend $10,000 on a golf cart to be street legal. That's all I'm asking is a chance to help the seniors in Chatham. I'm a new resident, I like Chatham. You know, they're growing. I think they should be able to grow for the seniors because they're gonna be to the heart of the place here in the next 6 months. A lot of new seniors are coming to town. I just would like an ordinance and see the trustees vote on it. If they say no, fine, I'll
So,
vote
sir,
on it.
do you have a low-speed vehicle or do you have a non-highway vehicle?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a low-speed vehicle or do you have a non-highway vehicle?
I have a golf cart that has a maximum.
That thing that was outside.
Maximum.
I wasn't here.
State law says it can't go over 30 mile an hour if the speed limit is 30 mile an hour in town. Mine will go 25 to 30 mile an hour.
Because if he has all of this, then it's a low-speed vehicle.
By state law, that's whatever they put on it. It was custom made for me a few months ago. The owner has built 5 more since then, and it's going to be the hottest thing in the community, around the communities, for seniors.
So, let me just read this. Does it have headlamps?
Yes.
Tail lamps?
Yes.
Brake lamps?
Yes,
Front and rear turn signals?
yes.
Red reflectors on the side and rear?
What?
Red reflectors on the sides and the rear?
Side of the mirrors?
Red reflectors on the sides and in the rear?
On the rear, it's not required. On the sides, I don't believe. But if it does, I'll have to put them on.
Mirrors?
Yes,
Brake lights?
yes,
A windshield?
yes.
Seat belts?
Yeah, well, seatbelt's an option, I was told. Mine's a 4-seater. If I have passengers in the back, they have to have seatbelts. If you require, Chatham says I need all 4, I'll put them on.
Well, for a low-speed vehicle, you have to have seat belts. And then a vehicle ID number.
Well, I don't think that's the question. I think it is more,
Well,
are we gonna put it?
The question though is, if he's got all of those items on that vehicle right now, he's legal and he can drive it wherever he wants.
But I think Mr.
That's-
Lofts'
yeah,
golf
yes.
cart though is an exception. It's like the Ferrari of golf.
And what I'm saying is, Mr. Loftus doesn't need us to say yes. The state has already said yes.
Yeah, and I think I'm going from a different perspective of going, these other golf carts like you have on a golf cart, or a golf course. Those type of low-speed vehicles that, I think that's where we're gonna create issues.
Yeah, and I don't think those are qualified because they don't have all the,
I understand.
And most golf carts go 16, 17 mile an hour. They're made to be on grass on a golf course. These are speeded up to go 25 to 30 so they can be street legal. So they're not a hindrance of going 15 mile an hour and somebody rear-ending you.
correct.
So that's,
So if it qualifies as a low-speed vehicle based upon what the statute says and based upon the federal code. I didn't get that. Let me repeat that
I was trying to show you a picture of one that Jacksonville does have an ordinance, and they have, I said, a permit last year, and I have a picture of the golf cart.
Golf cart's bigger than a smart car.
Approximately 12 in Jacksonville.
Well, that's what I'm saying. With your smart car, that's a low-speed vehicle. That's what it's called. And that is legal on the street, can go anywhere it wants, but the municipalities have the right to say, no, it doesn't. We have not passed that ordinance yet. But what I'm saying is, based upon what he's saying is, his golf cart is equal to your smart car.
Yes, it is.
And if it is, then he can drive it wherever he wants right now.
Without your ordinance, I cannot.
No.
Not, because it's not titled. Golf carts are not titled, so you have to have an ordinance in the town that you run them in. With the limitations of the streets that you
It says-
say no. Route 4 is a state route. I can supposedly cross it at a light or an intersection with a stop sign.
And you are correct, the low-speed vehicle must obtain registration plates from the Secretary of State.
Can't get plates on a golf cart. You can
So we
get a
create a
permit,
title
have a
system for
permit
the
from the
department
village.
then, or?
Like I said, there's 15 villages within 30 miles that approved it, to run them all over.
Okay, well, then that answers the question, then it's not a low-speed vehicle. And with that being a not-highway vehicle, then you would be correct to say that it would take an ordinance from us
Yes.
to allow that. And the difference between that and your car is you have a title and a registration for it.
And insurance and.
Yeah.
Well, he has insurance too.
I thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, my suggestion is if we write it with the things, the safety features that the chief presented to us and emailed us, I see no problem with this, with these vehicles on our streets. Because then they'll be, able to be, driven and safe.
And if a permit is issued, he has to display it. In
Yeah.
other words, just anybody can't come up with a golf cart.
And he's got a picture, then if Siri will allow him to show you that, it's got like a sticker on the back.
Go ahead, John.
What I found with my research, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. Originally, it was brought up a couple years ago when I was against it because of public safety. I was worried that if somebody got hit in the golf cart, we were going to have fatality, which I'm still worried about that. So public safety is still in the back of my mind. I've called several villages throughout the state that I could find that had an ordinance on the books. All of them I found were quite a bit smaller than us. There was nobody that was 10 to 13,000 people. The largest I found was 6,000. Every one that I found did have a state route going through their town, but I don't believe that the state route has many stoplights as we do. Chillicothe, they do. I spoke to the chiefs. Every one of them said that they're surprised that it was not an issue as far as a problem for the police department. Obviously, you might have complaints of people driving when they shouldn't have. It's your basic complaints that we would have to deal with. The benefit of passing an ordinance would be you can control what streets they would be on. So you could say, if you don't want them on Walnut, in the ordinance say they cannot be on Walnut, or they can't be on this road from here to here, or however you want to do it. The other benefit is they would be required to bring it in annually to us. They would pay a permit fee. The fee would cost our time to sit with them, go over the golf cart, make sure it's got everything it should have, seat belts, brake lights, and all that stuff, and then get a sticker from us to display on the golf cart. Also, we would require them to have liability insurance, have a minimum, they have to have some sort of insurance. So there, you would be giving yourself some control. But I also see why you would say, no, we don't want it, because of the safety issue. For instance, if they're on Plummer and they cross Route 4 at Plummer, these cars going 40 to 50 miles an hour in that intersection, our squad truck was totaled there, had that been a golf cart, we would have had a fatality. So it's, I hate to be in your position at this point, because you have to decide which way you want to go on it. But through the research I've found, I see both sides.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the time. I vote yes, because I know that's my
This is what a permit looks like.
What's that?
So I think you have at least one trustee that wants to propose no and another trustee that wants to propose yes, but you have a second on either of those proposals.
Well, I mean,
The license plate stickers, essentially.
to be honest, I appreciate his passion, with his vehicle or with his golf cart. I mean, I've reviewed the ordinances that the chief sent to us with other communities. Personally, I have several public safety concerns with it. One, we're a very busy commuter community. We have high traffic that comes up and down Route 4. Chief, touched on that briefly, but, a lot of traffic comes through us to go to Springfield. The second thing is infrastructure-wise, our current infrastructure, I don't think we're really set up to be a golf cart type community in the sense of, there's issues like right-of-ways that would come up with traffic on Walnut and things like that. There's issues at nighttime, do we have proper lighting on our streets to see, for these vehicles to have them out there? There's a lot of safety issues, and then the fact that, the thing I can't get beyond my head is just honestly on my hands to have somebody, if someone would get hit and killed in one of these vehicles, I would feel like that's on my, shoulders with that. So, I'm kind of with Trustee Clayton in this, and I think, Trustee Lindhorst is on the same page from the way I understood it. I'm not really ready to move forward with, putting an ordinance on the table on this issue.
I guess, on that safety, how does that differ from a motorcycle or a moped?
Or bicycle.
Or Bonnie's car?
Hey.
Well, in difference, a vehicle like his, like he said, can only go up to a maximum of 30 miles an hour on a road. We have roadways in the village of Chatham that aren't state highways that they could be on where they may be going 30 and it may be 45 miles an hour going through town. And similar.
Where's that?
What's that?
Other than
Gordon Drive, heading out of town. Or, and besides just speed limit, possible, like I said, right-of-way issues, okay? We all know people drive, and chief and our police department get tested, people drive faster than the speed limit, okay? That's the facts of it, okay? Right-of-way issues, how would they pass these vehicles on Walnut? Where would these vehicles go if they needed to move over? There's just a lot of issues to me that, I see that, I'm just not in favor of making a hasty or a quick hasty decision on something like this. And, when there's public safety issues out there and possibly life's at stake. Motorcycles are clear in state statute that they're allowed to be on roadways. They've even went as far as the vehicle like Bonnie drives, a low speed vehicle. If you want, they address these, but, golf carts are, as Joe pointed out, it's left to the community, for a reason.
He has a valid point though with the community, with our Holly place over there with the senior citizens and things like that. He's got a valid point on that. So I would rather see you guys not, speed limit in Chatham's 30. You know that background. But if that golf cart can handle the 30 and he's looking at signals and stuff, and I realize that you're worried about the safety. I'm worried about the safety when I see my grandkids on bicycles. But he's an adult, they're senior citizens, they've earned their right. And if Chatham is going to be built up with senior citizens, which I'm not there yet, we need to think about that in the future, okay?
And I did ask some seniors at the gym, and they.
It's not just
they were
senior
about it.
citizens,
Yeah.
it's what happens when you get the 16, 17, 18-year-old kid on one.
Put an age on it,
Things of that nature. So,
Well, that's why I'm saying-
I see your point. I see both sides to it. But, one thing too, I'll look at, and I'll point out, and I'm pretty sure Piper Glen in their homeowners association outlawed golf carts on the city streetways.
They did.
Yeah, and
And that's a golf cart community.
Yeah, and I will tell you, that's basically the reason why this was passed, is there was communities out there that were golf communities that wanted to do their golf cart. And then the other reason was because of a community called Huntley, which has Dell Acres, which that is a retirement community in which cars are not allowed. You have to have golf carts throughout, and they have stores there and everything. So that was the reason why they had these non-highway vehicles, which I don't think Chatham fits into those type of communities.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, and again, I'm going back to infrastructure. I feel like Fox Creek, that area over there, they can't even get to the bike path right now, comfortably sending their kids. That was such a big complaint, is they safely cannot send their kids across. I know riding my bike from my house in Breckenridge to the gym with my kids, I'm freaking out the whole time when I get past a certain point. I don't feel comfortable with that. So I think we can't even, we're a community of families, that's what Chatham sells. We need to address those issues first. Our infrastructure is not dealing with those issues right now.
So how do we want to proceed?
Well, it looks like there's three that are opposed. Dave?
I'm not much for limiting anybody's way to get around. You can make it safe, you can pick, the routes. If Gordon would be a good example of a route you might want to strike off, I think.
So are you seconding his motion?
We don't have an ordinance, so there's, which
Right.
it's just discussion,
Yeah.
it's something you want to proceed with, and to look at a fully drafted ordinance, to be able to do it, pick the streets you don't want it on. If it's Walnut, because the speeds get excessive along Walnut, if it's Gordon, because your concerns, they're very speedful on Gordon. But to tell a guy he can't save money on his transportation when he's got short of a vehicle identification and a title number, he's got a legal vehicle to drive now throughout the state of Illinois. He's missing one piece to say that,
Can you put an age limit so that the kids don't get in these things?
We can put whatever we want in the ordinance.
I would wait until you get a legal opinion on that.
Yeah, I don't know about an age limit.
That
That's
notwithstanding.
what I was going to recommend, that maybe you wait until you hire, get your attorney, and then turn it over to the attorney and let that be.
That's why we don't have an ordinance even to discuss at this point in time. There's provisions that would be in that would require that kind of review.
I think since your chief of police and his assistant have already done a lot of the research, but there's other things that are coming up that I think, as far as the legality of it, I mean, you don't want to throw something out there real quick and then realize, oh God, we really screwed up on this, now we got to redo,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to,
I think maybe give it a couple, 3 months till I can get your attorney, and then.
well, I felt it did need to be discussed because he's been here,
Yeah.
I think 6 or 8 meetings now. And, just to see what the temperature is on the board, because right now, the temperature's icy cold and it doesn't seem like there's much support. Sort of waiting and writing an ordinance later, our infrastructure's not gonna be fixed in 2 months. So
If you want to keep.
So right now, don't.
I understand that, but there's a lot of major concerns, and the chief pointed out, I mean, Plummer is a bad intersection. I've seen a lot of horrible accidents there that I don't want to see my friend that I've known for 20-some years get creamed because some idiot was driving like an idiot. But I think this needs to be a thought-out process, because like you said, you're going to have 100 people coming into the village that are senior citizens. And I've been in communities where I've seen down in Florida, some of the communities, like Joe was saying, that are gated communities, no vehicles are allowed, you have these cars. Well, some of these people get kind of crazy with these cars. So, and I'm not saying that Jack would be, I understand where he's coming from. And I understand we've got this new senior thing coming in. But I think this is something, don't just throw it out there, put something out there. Your chief of police has already been working on it, he's come up with some ideas. Get the attorney involved in it and then present it so that it's a well thought out process.
Good points.
Because I've been wanting one myself.
Parker, Andrea.
Why couldn't there, first of all, as people are saying, only put it on certain streets, but what about a time limit? So that they can't be on it until 9:30 in the morning? So that the traffic gets through, all the heavy traffic in the morning, all the heavy traffic at night, so keep it off when people are coming home at night. And then limit the roads and limit the times that it can be out there. And that way, people can use it, but they're not taking up the space of the traffic, or they're not in the heavy traffic, and they can see around, who's coming and what's coming down the road.
A couple of those questions that have been asked, the ordinances that I sent you, I think 2 of them had age limits. One was 18, I think one was 21. They all seem, I think, had age limits. And I did find one, I don't know if that's one I sent you, because I tried to keep it on as close to what our village was like. There was one that at dusk, I think it was on to dusk driving, and after dark you couldn't. But I think you can create it however you want.
Do the same rules of the road apply to a DUI?
Yes.
All the standards, everything?
Legal transportation.
That's a good question, I was going to ask that.
No, I mean, it's a very.
Valid driver's license.
Yes, I have to have a valid driver's license to drive it, yes.
So somebody that didn't have a driver's license to drive a car can't drive one.
Correct. If they're suspended, they cannot drive. You have to have driver's license.
That's a good thought. I know people don't think he's right anymore.
Matt, I mean, do you want to start putting together a draft ordinance? Or is that something that you want to look at and we can hold up?
At this point, I'm not.
Okay.
You know, from some of the comments I've heard at this point, I'm not going to proceed with an ordinance until, you know, we have a legal counsel. We discuss it more and opinions change, because right now it'd be kind of pointless.
Okay.
My
All right. So then we'll hold off till we get legal counsel and then we can revisit the discussion. Okay? Yeah, the insurance, yeah.
Can we pay the bill?
We're going to skip item number 4 about budget discussion. I know we have, I see a lot of faces of our employees out here. For the, I'm sure, are here.
Retain that for old business at the next meeting?
What's that?
Can we retain that for old business at the next meeting?
Just change the order.
We're just changing.
No, we're not.
Just changing the order of.
Keeping it up.
Oh, changing the order, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes. So we'll go to the healthcare, employee healthcare options and bids. I know this was brought up a little bit before that somebody had submitted a bid besides our current carrier. I know many of us have heard from some of the employees with some concerns. I don't really know how we want to proceed in terms of a board with this.
There's some folks coming up. They've been sitting out there since it was crowded.
Okay. So we can wait for them.
And Ken, are we going to allow public comment for this topic? Because I think some of our employees may want to.
Yeah, we'll open it up to them. That's why I didn't know if we wanted.
Come up here if you would. Sure.
How you doing? Hey, good.
Where would you like us?
There's fun.
Okay. Kind of stand around or?
Well, if you're going to stand, you go there by Mark.
Perfect.
I thought maybe you'd want to sit.
Everybody can see us tell.
Just go.
This is Mike Mahorny. He's our broker with Nagood Insurance. Mike, I'll let you introduce Jim.
Sure. This is Jim Hillestead. He's the president of our agency, and then we have Rick Petermeyer here from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. Any other intro you want me to go in? So really, sure. So really, what we'd like to do tonight, and I have just a one-page summary here. Actually, if I can, Mark, you don't mind just passing down here for the trustees. We want to keep this as simple as possible here. Really, our goal is to give an overview in terms of where we're at as far as the health insurance renewal, pending options, and then obviously to address some concerns that have been voiced. And again, ultimately, we want to provide the board with enough information so that they can make an educated decision as to what direction that they want to take. So as we look at this, just so that everybody knows, and I think it's already been communicated to the employees at large, there was initially a 22+% increase from Blue Cross. There are a number of large claims that are active and are still going on that contribute to the increase. That increase was then revised down to just under 16.5%. When we look at the revised rates and what that annual increase would be to the village is roughly $95,000. What we did then is that we went and did a market analysis, which means that we then go to all of the health insurance carriers that have a presence within our area. And just so that everybody understands as far as how the pricing works in regards to health insurance, especially with your group being in the 51 to 99 lives, How it works is that we get basic census data, and all that is the employee's gender, age, zip code, and the health insurance come out with a preliminary price. Those are what we call pie-in-the-sky rates because they take into consider no medical underwriting. Those are just rates. In order to get firm underwritten rates, we need to go through an application where employees complete health applications disclosing health conditions, etc., so the health insurance carriers can then in turn provide final pricing. Our recommendation was to move forward with the full application process so that we could essentially leave no rock unturned and see what options are out there, albeit knowing that within our area there are a few, really only a few carriers that have true options. So what we ended up doing though was that for whatever reason it was employees had some difficulty in terms of completing the applications in a timely manner. United Healthcare, how they do their pricing for the 51 to 99 group is slightly different. What they do is they base that off of what's called a gatekeeper application. Essentially give to basically 5 questions that are asked from the administration to the best of your knowledge, which typically nobody really knows because of HIPAA and privacy. And then based on the answers to those 5 questions, then they will actually provide final pricing for a group of your size without having to go through the full medical underwriting process. Due to the time constraints and the fact that we were going on and the applications weren't getting completed, we suggested that we do a disruption analysis to determine what providers, what procedures, etc., may not be covered underneath the United Healthcare proposed plan. Because again, we've stated this from year after year, and this year in particular, it doesn't matter what health insurance company that you are with. Anytime that you make a change, you are going to see a difference. And that's simple because health insurance companies, which Rick will talk about here, everyone does things a little bit differently. So if there was going to be any type of proposed change, that's why we went through the analysis, was so that we could determine at the end of the day, okay, are there going to be doctors that are going to be covered or are not in the network? Are there going to be providers, certain procedures? So that's why we solicited information. We're still in the process of wrapping some of that up. A lot of that communication has already been sent back out either to the village or to individual employees, depending on how that information came. So at the end of the bottom line here, as far as the results and to the board, you'll see at the bottom there, those are the numbers as far as from a premium standpoint. So obviously there's significant dollar savings, but at the same time, obviously the voice of the employees has been heard. And we also believe that when we're talking about health insurance coverage, you either can view it as a commodity and say that we have a rate and that's what we're looking for, or that we find value in the carrier and the coverage that we have. So with that being said, because there has been obviously a lot of concern expressed, we wanted to have someone from Blue Cross here so that they could address some of these issues in terms of differences, possible disruptions, because again, our job here is to provide information to the village. Obviously, we're trying to find the best option for the best price, but as we all know, sometimes price and quality don't necessarily match up. But I will say that United Healthcare, there are other health insurance companies out there that are good companies. Blue Cross has been a very good partner to the village for over 30 years, and we just want to make sure that before any decision is made, that questions can be answered and that everybody has all the information to help with that decision. So, Rick, if you want to speak a little bit to the transition, disruption, etc.
Thanks. Thank you for allowing us to talk to you this evening, and thank you for your continued business for quite some time. I've been at Blue Cross for over 20 years and worked on your account from a management level for a long time. Just want to talk about a couple things for a few minutes. One is that there's a big difference between price and cost. And you can find a lower price, but at what cost? And does that lower price increase your bottom line cost? And what I mean by that is there are significant differences in companies, how they're structured, how they do business. There are significant differences in networks. There are significant differences in how office visits are covered. There are significant differences in how ologists and I call them subsurface coverages happen, how pre-certifications and pre-authorizations work. And there are significant differences in drug formularies and how new drugs are brought to market and put in. So you need to really look at that and be prepared for a change. And I understand you have to look at bottom line dollars, and that change may be necessary, but let's make sure that we're ready for the consequences of those changes, because really there are no free moves. You squeeze the balloon and it pops out somewhere else. And if you save money from a premium standpoint, do you have to pay more money out of pocket or things not covered in insurance?
I have figures for you today. I'll show you if we switch from Blue Cross Blue Shield to the proposed bid. I'm a little, anyway, sorry.
So, thank you, and I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to talk about that and take all that into consideration. And I think there's a big difference between companies, and also from a rating perspective. Blue Cross is in here with eyes wide open. We know everyone's prescriptions, we know everyone's doctors and hospitals and health conditions, and that's a factor in the rating of the plan. When you go to market, no one else can have all of that information. It's just only the incumbent is going to have that. So it may take a little bit of time, but in time, when your group matures, that rate is going to be moved to an appropriate level to cover the risk. No one's doing this for free. So you guys have been with us for a long time, and the rates have been, increasing with trend, and we've negotiated hard every single year. And part of that, when we negotiate hard and we're able to take off some points, that makes the difference in the next renewal that much wider because we've enjoyed those lower rates for the entire year. And we always will continue to do what we can for.
So we're currently at 48,490, correct? And then we're going to go monthly to 56?
Correct.
So, and this is most of our employees' family on? The whole family plan is on?
There are, I believe that there of the, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think that there are 15 full families, and I want to say 7 that are employee children.
So the total number of 50 employees that are insurance?
Roughly 56, I think.
So you're looking at 150 increase if we stay with the current insurance for the employee to have their family on there. And for somebody who's went from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Healthcare, you're going to spend that times 5.
Yes.
So I mean, honestly, you're going to spend it times 5. And we've had to save for that. So that's something, honestly, I think the employees, you ask them, and they need to be educated about their decision because we don't go to the doctor a lot as a family, but we have increased as our.
Sure. One other thing that if I can share, I know that there are some newer board members here, and I wanted to give just a little bit of history here as far as what I would say some of the positive financial stewardship on behalf of the village over the last handful of years. For those of you who remember, certainly employees do. Back in 2009, we adopted a strategy for the village of Chatham to implement what's called an HRA, or a health reimbursement arrangement. The concept is very simple. At the time, the village had a $500 deductible plan for a number of years. Although the increases during that time period were fairly minimal, we were looking forward in terms of what healthcare costs were appearing to do, and we suggested that they implement a true cost containment strategy so that they could really sustain the livelihood of their current plan. The village has always had their employees, in our opinion, very much at the forefront in terms of wanting to offer the best possible coverage at the best possible price. knowing that costs are going to increase, we had to implement a strategy that would help sustain this. So in its simplest form, what we did back then is that the year one, we looked at purchasing a $2,500 deductible behind the scenes. Subsequently, it became a $3,500 deductible, but the employee's coverage at that $500 deductible level remained the same. So really what you're doing is by increasing deductible, you are saving premium, and then on an as-needed basis, you're using that premium to fund claims that exceed the employee's threshold. So I wanted to be able to present to the board and just be able to show you over the last 5 years how that strategy has continued to work, and being able to show that since this was implemented in 2009, although we're still going through the rest of this plan year, the net savings to the village over that time period is just over $450,000. So I credit the village for being able to truly implement a cost containment strategy, because again, I mean, the days of a $500 deductible are gone. I mean, there are not a lot of companies that are able to offer a $500 deductible at an affordable price, and not to mention the fact that, the fact that the village pays, I believe, if not 100%, almost 100% of the employee-only lines portion as far as dependents, which again, whether you're talking about any type of government entity or even just an employer your size, that's a rarity. So the village, in my opinion, has done a very good job in terms of offering great coverage and taking care of the employees.
So basically what I said is that correct?
That is correct.
I mean, so you're looking at $150 increase, if quality insurance. And I think you hit it home exactly what, there's not, $150, if you change insurance, I promise you, you're gonna spend that with prescriptions. Yes, go ahead.
Can my wife and I speak
Yes.
as to some of our research? We've discussed a lot of this with Mike. In fact, wouldn't be surprised if he erases us from his email account, but we've had so much. If you could hand those kind of around. This talks a little bit about our family history. We have two very unique children. They have mitochondrial disease and autism and immune deficiency, and a lot of health issues. These diseases that our kids have, we've been tested. They don't show up in any of our families genetically. Don't know how exactly we got so lucky with two kids like this, but then again, having this in our household, we've learned a lot about what's really important in life too. Unfortunately, we are one of the families, probably the village, that makes prices go up because our children do need a lot of medications to stay alive. When they were first diagnosed at 4 years old, they didn't have life expectancy beyond about 10 years old. Through interventions, my wife is an RN, and she gave up her career and daily spends time consulting with doctors, doing her own research. We've helped put together studies for different hospitals. We've talked to different groups. So our family has done without for a lot of years, but like I said, the village has treated us very good, both with health insurance, and I'm going to just say my department, the police department, has been great about allowing me to have time off, when it was necessary for the situations. We've done research. Our kids currently, if we were to pay out of pocket, are on close to $10,000 worth of meds per month.
And these are mainstream, not alternatives. These are.
Right.
Yeah, and they're literally their lifeline. There's no other way to put it.
And so we've kind of been probably the spearheads of the employees towards this situation, talked to a lot of the board members already. We've talked to Mike a lot about this. We've researched a lot into United Healthcare because on paper, the plan looks similar. It's an 80-20 plan, deductibles there. You know, if you check for most of our doctors in the area, most of our doctors are considered preferred providers on this thing. But when you start checking into the medications and you start checking into treatments, and even going to the doctor sometimes for a sinus infection, you know, we have you know, friends and colleagues that, you know, work at CVS, Walgreens, BioRx Pharmacy, Dr. Sullivan here in town. You know, we have a lot of colleagues that are with these different agencies that say, literally, I mean, United Healthcare is very, very difficult to work with. That they deny things like crazy. They're very hard to appeal things. You know, I have to hand it to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, there's some things that we started 7-8 years ago that literally has kept our children alive.
Literally on the forefront of medicine.
7 years ago, you know, was kind of questionable whether it was true medicine or not. Now it is considered true medicine, and our kids are still here today, you know, because Blue Cross Blue Shield, you didn't question that and helped us out. So there is a major difference here between, you know, the cost that you pay for insurance and the quality that you're getting. United Healthcare, you know, the kids' antioxidant that they're on, you know, is not covered. Their immune therapy they're on is not covered. You know, so many of their medications, close to $10,000 a month, you know, is not covered by this United Healthcare plan. And honestly, if the village goes with that plan, I have no idea what's going to happen to our family, because we can't afford $10,000 a month, nor do I believe anyone probably in this room could afford $10,000 a month. And I'm honestly scared to death that I'm going to go back to where we were 7 years ago, where my kids were literally skin and bones and dying before my eyes.
Show you pictures.
And so I just want to tell the board and encourage you, please look at things, you know, from a quality standpoint too, not just a price saving standpoint, because these are truly lives that are being affected here. And by talking with, you know, some of the board members before tonight, you know, I believe that, I mean, you guys care about that side of things too. I appreciate you allowing us to talk tonight. I don't know if the answer is, you know, we only have one quote or one bid beyond Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that's United Healthcare. I don't know if the answer is trying to go out and find more insurance companies, you know, than just those two to try and get bids from. I mean, I'm kind of like everybody else. You know, I want the best for my family. I want my kids to outlive me, and it's just. But I understand it's very difficult for the community too, and so I just have anything to add.
Just the more and more people I talk to, again, I spoke with another pharmacy that happens to be in network with United Healthcare, and it's Option Health, and they expressed to me that I talked to Mike, the pharmacist, and he pretty much said in a nutshell, in network, there's no comparison to Blue Cross Blue Shield. The elemental formula would no longer be covered. Pat, I'm sorry I'm calling you on the spot, but you remember how sick my kids were. You know what we've been through. Diane has seen them, and they've come full circle, and they go to school all the time, and it literally feels like this could be hitting like a carpet out from underneath us. It's really scary. I'm being completely transparent. Whew, sorry.
Yeah, one thing I will say, keep in mind, the reason why we have one other option is because, again, every other health insurance company would require application by all the employees. And like I said, that became too cumbersome and therefore there are not other options. The reality of it though is, especially in support of what Rick has said in regards to the usage, some of the conditions, chances are we could have gone through the full underwriting process. Again, there are limited carriers that are really strong in this area, and we could be having this exact same conversation. Meaning that, okay, yes, we have an option that is comparable in price, but how our situation is going to be different? Because I will say too, you know, United Healthcare, all the companies we represent are A-rated companies. United, one of the largest in the nation, but everybody does something different. So although that a vast majority of people may see no disruption or very little, I think it's important that you understand that how some, you know, some circumstances are completely different. The other thing that I think that everyone needs to be aware of too is that we are in a changing environment here as far as health insurance. Everybody is probably more aware of health insurance and some of the aspects because of the Affordable Care Act. Next year in 2016, because your employee count is between 51 and 99, when you renew in 2016, you will no longer be medically underwritten as you are today. You will then be in the, as they refer to as the Obamacare or the ACA community rates. Community rates are not based off health condition, they're based off of very few criteria. That's based off an individual's age, whether or not they're a tobacco user, and where they live, zip code wise. So everybody is on the same level playing field. So when we fast forward here to 2016, the options will be very clear, okay? Because you plug in that information and it spits out as far as what the plans are. Because every group today has their own identity. Village of Chatham has their own identity because of the makeup of the group, the health. That is stripped away. So you will see changes in 2016 when you renew because of that rating structure. Yes, ma'am.
I'm in pharmacy, and I will tell you that we see United Healthcare, they deny claims all the time. And we get rejections every day, and they're either restricted networks or, you know, we have patients calling us. And they have bought another PBM, I don't know if you're aware of that, they're growing, but they are very, very hard to get to cover anything anymore.
Yeah, the PBM is actually called Optum.
Yes, they just bought.
I've done a lot of research.
They bought Catherine.
They bought Catherine.
So if
Does this rate only last 1 year all the time, or when was the last time? So every year we have a renewal, no matter.
That's correct.
And now because of the Affordable Care Act, there's some changes coming up for your size group. So there's a transitional policy coming up on 10/1, and then a new rating coming up on 1/1. So Mike will be out here with all kinds of options to help you choose what's best for you. If current rating is better than the new rating. But to summarize, I haven't talked to any folks before, but it sounded like a Blue Cross commercial, but it's not meant to be that way. But we're a mutual reserve, we're owned by our policyholders.
Make sure the check's made.
A lot different than a stock company. And that comes through with how things are covered. Health insurance is not a commodity. It's an extremely personal thing. Not for us who are healthy and aren't seeing the doctor, but when you have a need, it's the best place to be. And in this room, you know, are our most important assets as employers and as community members, and that's all the folks that work here in the village. So potential disruption, if this isn't running smooth, is there's a line in front of Jill's door, and Mike's phone is ringing off the hook because the pharmacy card isn't, you know, as expected. So I just ask you to, you know, understand there's a lot of differences, and there are no free moves. That while the price on a spreadsheet might look lower, you squeeze that balloon and it pops out somewhere else, and it may be more expensive and more of a cost in the long run.
I guess, go ahead. If I could say, my company, as Mike knows, does have United Healthcare, and we did make a switch, and I can tell you, even though it seems like a very good program, and I don't know how your customer service is, but I can tell you, the customer service that we receive with United Healthcare is subpar, and that's putting it nicely.
Very easy to get hold of.
And so, I think a survey was done, there's be no doubt that people would want to go with Blue Cross Blue Shield rather than United Healthcare. The question I have after looking at this sheet though, and this is the question for our employees, is would you be willing to have a premium increase if we would stay with Blue Cross rather than going with United Healthcare? And then, I'm not asking you to answer that now, but I think that's one of the questions that will have to be put forth to you guys to see what what the results are, and then a decision be made of what insurance company we go with.
Del, is that in the contract? Is that a negotiated item? In our union contracts, the
I
amount
believe
of...
the contract states that there has to be a like plan that is 80/20 and preferred provider plans.
As far as pricing, though, like premium
It
shares?
is not in there.
I guess the thing that it's kind of a question for you is,
Sorry, I'm not exactly sure. It was just a comparable plan and 80/20, and that's what I didn't know if there was any other about that. I'll have to look into it.
are there other, and as a broker, you would know this better than anyone, are there other plans? I mean, I look at the list and I see, Cigna and, all these others. I almost feel like we're talking about apples and oranges with Blue Cross and United Healthcare when we need to be looking at what the actual plan is that the employees have, and are there other companies that provide almost a like or identical plan to that's in place that would be able to bid on this?
Well, here's the situation. So the list of carriers that I provided there, like I said, just from a due diligence standpoint, we went to get preliminary rates from all of us. And I think what you'll find in the answer to your question is that if you look at the plan design that is offered, the base one, because again, keep in mind that regardless of what would be done, everything is still going to run through the health reimbursement arrangement, which is administered through Averill Anderson. So that component, as far as the out-of-pocket from deductible, co-insurance, co-pays, all of that, the employees would feel no different out-of-pocket. What the root issue here is that when we talk about these different carriers and how things are, and like what Rick was saying and what the Williams have said, is that insurance companies will pay different percentages off different benefits. So you can look at a summary of benefits coverage from one carrier to the next, and it could look identical in terms of the actual plan design itself. But it's not until you get into the actual claims processing that you can find out sometimes that, they're paying, X company is paying X percentage for this procedure, and this company is paying for X. So although that list, it has multiple companies, the reality of it is, and this has been the case for several years, when you look at our area and you look at it from a carrier strength position in terms of network and pricing and benefits, it's been Blue Cross, United Healthcare, and Health Alliance. At the end of the day, if you were to tally any employer your size in this area that is domiciled here, you will find that they are by and large with one of those three companies. Again, I want to, and we were just talking, I want to make sure that everybody is clear as we have a bouncing ball here and a moving target. So even though regardless of decision that is made for the July 1st renewal date, we will be reviewing every option as it comes available. We talked about the new community rating that would take effect next year upon your renewal. The January 1 rates underneath the ACA community rating will be available in the October timeframe. As soon as that option is available, we will be looking at that and reevaluating for not only the Village of Chatham, but every one of our groups, so that we can ensure that they have the best possible options available to them as they come available.
And the way I understand it, I think, from listening to the employees, within Blue Cross Blue Shield currently, they have one option, right? They have a PPO that they participate in. Is it possible to do, or to go to a system, and I'm comparing once again, you're talking about apples and oranges with the state of Illinois. Is it possible to give employees an option if they wanted to stay with the PPO at a certain premium like Joe's talking about, or have the option to go down to the HMO or to a lower level tier to save money if we did that.
Yeah, and you get a great point, because oftentimes the organizations will look at even offering a triple option. You have your traditional lower deductible PPO plan, you have an HMO, and then you look at possibly a qualified high deductible or an HSA type plan. With what my recommendation, if you want to look at alternatives with that, keep in mind, you already have essentially the highest deductible plan behind the scenes with Blue Cross because of the HRA. What I would suggest, and we're happy to model this out, if you want to offer different offerings in terms of deductibles, so whether it be $500, $1,500, full $35, all of that can be managed through the health reimbursement arrangement. Because typically what you find is that the HMO pricing is high, and then when you're looking at trying to do it from a price standpoint, given the fact that you're already at one of the lowest price points that's even available, there's nowhere really to go. But again, you could structure that within the HRA to have, say, a triple option of different degrees of exposure out of pocket to the employees, whereby they will pay accordingly based off that exposure.
I can tell you that working for the city of Springfield, we had Blue Cross Blue Shield. The worst mistake they ever made was going to United Healthcare. And now we have Health Alliance. You don't know what's going to be out of pocket. You guys need to take care of these employees and cut elsewhere. Employees can work at maybe the premium level, but switching the insurance carrier will be the worst mistake you do for your employees. It really will. They're not going to get the health care they need, whether it's a complicated situation or a minor situation. They're not going to get it with anybody else. I've been through all three companies.
And I think she speaks it.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. I investigated this simple medication for my kids. I'm like, they're on a high dose club. They won't even cover that. I've spoken directly to the pharmacies. I'm going to go out on a whim and try to find out what's in network with UHC. And they even said that they're 8 months to a year behind in claims because of the constant difficulty they have.
Yes.
And they're saying that more and more, and this is optional, I spoke with Mike, the pharmacist. He said specifically that they are starting, doctors are starting to drop them because they're not paying out the claims.
Which Gene Sullivan, chiropractor here in town, spoke with today. He's one of those that's dropped United Healthcare and no longer use them because he wasn't getting paid, and when he was getting paid, it was too low of amount. And I just want everybody to think about too, if you're healthy and your family's healthy, consider yourself blessed. You know, but at some point, you know, you're gonna have something, you know, and are you gonna have the policy there to cover it, or are you gonna be bankrupt at that point?
Rick, I got a question for you. When community rating kicks in for the small groups, you said the rating schedule comes out at the beginning of October, is that correct?
There's a transitional policy that's regulatory that is effective on 10/1. So this group will receive a transitional offer on 10/1 to take an early renewal and keep their current plan and rating structure for a full another year, effective 10/1. On 1/1, when the community rating kicks in, then you'll be able to look at the rates on that date as well. And my consumer will do that, and you can choose what's best for you.
So this plan is really not, you don't have to give away your, you don't have to give away your rating trade secrets, but as you rate this plan, this is on the bad end of the spectrum as far as your risk rating.
Actually not. It's pretty much, it's just a little bit above our standard rate.
So then to move this into a community rate, that it gets it more toward that average, and it should technically improve the rating slightly.
And that's anybody's guess right now, because those rates aren't out or filed, and the new rating structure is like individual. You know, younger folks pay a lower rate, and older folks pay a higher rate, and then you're going to have a whole other strategy here about employer contributions on how do you even that out to your average of what you do. So I can't answer that question because I don't know if our rates will legally be approved and they're filed. They've got to be approved at the state and the federal level.
Your thought process is correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to clarify, I have the contract now, in terms of premium paid by the employees, it specifically states that the employer should pay 100% of the employee's insurance coverage and contribute 80% towards the employee's dependents and families. So we can't do anything with that unless the employers decide to, unless the employees decide to open up the contract, which I don't see that occurring.
Contracts, not just.
Contracts, yes, contracts.
Not just one, it's multiple.
So again, just here to present the information that's available. Any other questions? Yes?
Is there a mix and match where you can use, does Blue Cross cover a prescription insurance and then does United Healthcare have a health plan? No, that's what I'm asking.
No, and not unless you were covered under two separate plans. Say, for instance, you're covered here as an employee, and then in a scenario, you're covered under a spouse's plan, and you have dual coverage. Other than that, no.
Is there a number that can be ran to make sure we stay in the code and then to stay in the union contract, and then also make sure that we can maybe balance the budget where we're not taking all the costs but the employee is? Can you guys run that for us?
You mean as far as premium allocation?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I mean, guys, I think that'll help give them information so they know. And again, I can't reiterate what everybody's been saying about United Healthcare. I mean, just a steroid would be a basic thing because I know a lot of people, my son has breathing, our inhaler, and that's something you're going to get in the wintertime, went from $10 to we pay $100 a month. So that just shows you, and we pay that monthly. So, and again, I mean, we mentally knew what we were doing and going into it, but we counted for that when we changed positions, so.
Mike, I don't know about, I mean, the board would have to ask you this officially, but would it be possible to get some numbers from April Anderson as far as, like Mr. Boyle said, as far as coming up with 2 tiers and saying, okay, if you increase your deductible, you know, then your cost will stay down.
Is the board interested in seeing that?
Can you get a higher deductible?
I don't know. Well, no, what we're saying is that essentially utilizing the HRA to set different plan designs. So right now, there's a $3,500 deductible behind the scenes. The employees are responsible for $500 of that. So we could structure it as such so that there could be a triple option even as such, so that you have a $500 option, a $1,500, and a $3,000. I mean, and again, it's very flexible. You can say, I want a $1,230. I mean,
Is that allowed?
I don't think it would be, if I'm understanding the contract, that's not.
But
Well, the contract says, from what I understand, we have to cover 100% of the employees, which if the employees opted to take a lower thing, it wouldn't affect the contract any. We would still cover 100% of their
But unless they
premium.
pay more, there's no cash savings, so it doesn't make sense.
It's true, but we cover 80% of families.
Yeah, families can benefit, right.
So be the family.
I'm open to it, whatever you
Because
say.
5%.
So basically, we have 28 days to decide on the best plan, and then, but we want to get locked in by July 1st, is that what you're telling us?
well, what's going to happen is if the village takes no action, the plan's automatic, with Blue Cross will automatically renew July 1.
Okay.
So
And then he
then,
said January 1, and then maybe I didn't understand.
That's just
that
the
correctly.
pricing mechanism.
Okay, okay.
yeah, it has nothing to do with
Okay.
that.
Yeah, if you renew 7/1, you're good for a year. On 10/1, there's going to be another option that will extend it out another year, and then on 1/1, new pricing comes out, and you'll be able to look at that too, and choose the best that works for you.
So are we really kind of renewing for 3 months?
No,
Or are we
maybe,
renewing-
but that's your choice.
That's the thing, Joe, we want to, obviously we want the best price, and we might have to do it another time in another 6 months, or 3 months.
Yeah, that's
So-
kind of what I'm hearing.
If you renew July 1, like Rick said, automatically you would be there for a 12-month contract. Not even taking into consideration the early renewal at 10/1. Let's say that the January 1, the ACA community rates come out, and for whatever reason, pricing is, you got the essentially same plan with Blue Cross, but for less premium, Why wouldn't we move it to that plan, and now you're 12
Well,
months?
let's keep this simple. All we're doing is keeping you compliant with ACA. Because if you don't take the early option, you have to go with ACA January 1st, 2016. So we're getting way too deep in this. We're talking about other issues. There's 7-1. So all we're saying is we have options for pricing along the way that we'll make sure you're knowledgeable of, and it might help the village in the cost standpoint. That's all we're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just monitoring for good
Well,
deals
that's all
when they
we're
come
doing.
up.
I think what we'll do is get the numbers that you talked about to us. You know, if we do want to meet a July 1st deadline, we still have next committee meeting to go into it further, and we can make a decision on the route there, and we'll add some more budget discussions too in between then, so.
We just want to
Why
make
don't we
sure
do
you
that,
know we're
yeah.
here to help you. We'll do whatever we can. There are limited options, though. There truly are. And we need to get the best option in front of you guys, and we'll help you with however we need to do that.
And you're beyond a time frame where the full health insurance application that's out of the spectrum too long.
I mean, you can still do that, it just won't be for a July 1. But
With what we know, we don't think the full application process will improve the situation whatsoever. That's just our opinion. We can do whatever this board chooses. But
Again, let's find someplace else to cut to meet the employees' wants.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Moving on, John, do you want to talk about the replacement police vehicle that you talked about earlier, or touched on earlier?
I'll keep this very brief. As you all know, we had a vehicle that was totaled out a few weeks ago.
Yes, keep it down a little. Thank you.
As you know, a few weeks ago, we had a vehicle that was totaled out. It was a 2012 Dodge Ram pickup. That is the one that was totaled out on an accident. It was not our fault. It was the person who hit our vehicle's fault. Or actually, the person who hit another vehicle that hit our vehicle's fault. The officer that this was assigned to was Officer Scott Williams, because it was asked, do we need to replace his vehicle? I'm going to try to clarify that. In my opinion, absolutely. It was assigned to Officer Scott Williams. Scott Williams, a lot of you may not know, is a state certified crime scene technician. It's a 6-week school we sent him to. He's one of the best in the area. If we have any crime scenes, he's the guy you want to have processing it. He's been involved in solving several cases with partial prints that he's pulled off the scenes. So he's already paid dividends at this point. We also sent him to a state certified vehicle crash reconstruction specialist school, and that's something that's very difficult to do. And again, that was a several-week program. He scored very high in that, and any accidents we have that are fatality or major injury, he's also the guy you want to have doing that. The reason I bring that up is he has a lot of equipment that we assigned to him, and also some equipment he's bought on his own that allows him to do his job properly. This was the back seat. As you can see, it's open for prisoner transport. All of our cars have cages. You never know how people are going to act once they're in the back of the squad car. This protects the officer while they're driving to and from the jail. This is the equipment he had in that vehicle to do his job as we've assigned to him. Go to the next one. This was the vehicle after the accident. $24,000 worth of damage, which totaled it out. We received a check for $27,523. I received bids last week, the low bid being $26,055 out of Hillsborough. I've also got those bids if you guys want to see them. There were 3 bids, one from Landmark in Springfield, one from Bob Writings in Pana, Taylorville, and then the one from Hillsborough. Hillsborough was the lowest bid. Again, it was a Dodge Ram truck. This is the vehicle Officer Williams is currently assigned right now. It's an 04 Chevrolet Impala with over 100,000 miles on it. It's one of our pool cars, one of our cars. The question was asked why we have cars parked in the back here. For this reason, if we have a car in the shop, they've got a car that they can drive while it's being repaired. This is not a car I want out on the street all the time. These cars, when we say 100,000 miles, you have to remember there's a lot more engine time on the car when they're sitting and running while they're on calls and things like that. You can almost double the amount of miles when you're talking about time on a car. Anyway, that's his front seat. Go to the next one. This is back seat. This is, I believe, some crime scene equipment that he needs to carry with him. It's called out a crime scene. As you can see, there's no room for a prisoner. This is the trunk. It's almost full. I don't think any of his other items can fit in there. And then on the last slide, these are the items that are sitting in his garage because he cannot fit them in the vehicle. that truck is very important for us to have, for him to have all his equipment to do his job. So that right there is the main reason we need that vehicle replaced. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. I've also, real quick, put some facts. You know, each officer is assigned a take-home car, and I've touched this before, and I put some facts together for you about take-home car programs. The most expensive part of a take-home car program is the starting of it. It's purchasing the vehicles to begin with. We've had this program for over 20 years. Once you get the program started, it is actually cheaper to do a take-home car program than to run several cars 24/7. In other words, if you buy, we would need probably 8 vehicles to run 24/7, because when we have sweet corn, homecoming, big football games, things like that, we'll have 10 to 12 officers on at a time. So we would need 10 to 12 cars. Well, if you only have 8 cars, you're not going to be doubling up officers, and why have the officers if they can't be out there patrolling? Anyway, 6 to 8 cars you would need at least to run 24/7. When you do that, within a year, you're going to have over 36,000 miles on each vehicle, which voids the warranty of a new vehicle, because your new vehicle is 3 years, 36,000 miles. So when you buy a new vehicle, you only get the warranty for 1 year, where if you have a take-home car, that 3 year, 36,000, bumper to bumper, it's not costing us anything to maintain that vehicle. Where your costs occur is after a certain amount of miles on the vehicle, and I've found through research that after 85,000 miles on squad cars, they become very expensive to maintain. So what we try to do is we try to rotate them out as much as we can. Since I've been chief 6 years, we have never bought a car strictly out of the general fund. It's always been through, we use the police, the telephone utility tax. That ordinance was passed specifically to fund squad cars and then street vehicles. That's the only fund we've ever used to purchase squad cars. And yes, we do lease them because that allows us to buy multiple cars at a time. We've ordered 2 cars that we're waiting on to be here, and eventually we're going to have to vote on whether to finance those cars. And we'd be paying for it through the utility tax fund, not coming strictly out of the general fund as a chunk. So anyway, I'll go ahead and pass these out. And like I said, these are, if you can just pass them down. Those are just some facts that I found about take-home car policies and how it's beneficial. It actually saves money in the long run. So, and again, if you guys have any questions, you can always come in and see me. I'll show you our vehicles. I'll show you why we've got ones that we're not using. They're just kind of being held as a reserve car. We'll be trading into those cars when we get our other new vehicles. But on this vehicle particularly, we're going to be able to replace this vehicle. I believe it's going to be under $300, our cost, once it's striped and we buy the lid for the thing. And
John, what are the prices of the vehicles that you bid?
$26,055 is what the low bid was for a 4x4 Dodge Ram pickup truck.
And that was from who?
Wright Automotive in Hillsborough. And also, too, the question on the 4x4 truck, they have been invaluable, especially with some of the winters we've had the last few years. Those vehicles, during that time when we had the bad snowstorms, are being driven 24/7 to allow us to get to calls. So it's been very valuable. So. Yes.
Can we get an officer on the Indy 500 in the morning from Piper to Plummer? I swear to God, they don't even have an hour.
On Route 4?
Yeah, every morning.
Sure.
I wanted you to test my smart to see if it's down or wrong.
You know what? Hey, I'm glad you bring that up. You know, if you
I'm
just put all wrong,
serious.
you can always come in and we will do that.
Because, but if I go over, come on, you're testing,
She's
right?
talking about how it goes so fast.
But they went around me and I'm
No, all
thinking maybe
seriousness,
that's
if you think it's
I know,
$5
it's
off,
ridiculous.
we will help you with that.
You're gonna give me one.
All right, has anybody got any questions for John up here from the board?
Signed the electronic.
Are we good with moving along to replace the vehicle? Do we want to put that?
Yes.
Okay,
The
with that
approval?
thing, we can put
I'm
it
fine
on
with-
Route 4. What it does is it
Mark?
actually tracks
Joe?
vehicles,
Matt?
statistics. We
You know,
can see what it is.
as far as replacing vehicle, one question that I have is, last week, we asked them to go back and cut their budgets more. Did they look in the budget to see where they could cut $26,000 and pay for it by cutting, or was that not done? I mean, I know you got a check, but last week we asked all the departments to go back and cut their budgets more.
We have a balanced budget, I believe, I'm sure it's not a.
But I think we asked everyone to cut their budgets more.
Yeah.
So, did you find 26,000 in there that you could cut to pay for this car?
We got a check.
I know you got the check, but the check could have also been deposited in your account. So what I'm asking is there a place to where your department could pay for it without that check?
So it'd be the same as if we're just taking out of general fund?
Yeah.
Like
Well, out of your-
I budgeted for one, because I
yeah.
didn't budget for one,
Okay.
because we didn't have money for it. I'm not sure what you're asking, man, like.
I'm asking
You want me to cut $27,000, $26,000 to replace a vehicle that we got paid to replace?
Yeah, because you're not, I mean, you could just put the money in your account.
In the general fund? Sure, it goes in the general fund.
Yeah, or instead, you're getting new vehicles.
Because the insurance company paid us to replace them.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, was there money there that you could take out of your budget?
If there was money
To do
there
that.
in the first place, we would have budgeted for another vehicle. If we need to make cuts, I mean, we will make cuts.
Okay.
All right. You want to put that on the agenda for next time, Bill? Segueing into budget cuts. Trustee Mao has heated up the discussion. We'll start budget discussion. I know Sherry provided us through email with a lot of the documents that we requested and the staff did. Appreciate that. Thank you for that. I don't know where we want to pick up, with that. I mean, she presented generally.
You did make some cuts, right?
Yes.
Can you let us know what they are?
What we've done so
Yes.
far. Last Friday morning, staff had discussed the existing deficits. The general fund had a deficit of $50,000.
Sherry, would you move up closer to that microphone?
The general fund had a deficit of $50,293. We proposed the following adjustments. We cut $14,000 from consulting services, just for the fact that Mr. Williamson has indicated he's no longer going to be a consultant with us, so we were able to reduce it by that. Unfortunately, we found something that we needed to add in, and that was an additional $15,600 for hiring the SEMA director. We had some in there, but not enough to have a SEMA director for the capacity I think that is planned. So that resulted in, we also talked about the changing of the healthcare plans, which is something that is wanting to do, but the thought that the difference in cost savings we thought was about $78,000, but instead the staff came up with some additional ideas of how to cut. What we wanted to do was reduce non-personal service and debt service line items. So those would not be affected, and we were going to allocate about $78,000 between each line item. If we did that, we'd reduce each line item by 8.5%. Or each department could reduce their department's budget by an allocation. So admin would go down $23,353. Cemetery would go down $1,355. Parks and Recreation would need to be reduced by $11,111. Streets by $21,496, and police by $20,686. And I think it was in general consensus that the department's update could live within that. So that would actually change our deficit to a surplus of $26,107. Moving on to the electric fund, we actually identified some additional cuts for that fund. It actually had a surplus, but we found a few things that the director had suggested to remove, which was the full trailer purchase and the shed office. And that would, the updated budget surplus would be $64,620. And just to remind you that this is based on implementing the 4% increase in the rate structure. We thought it would be a good idea to have legal counsel look at that ordinance and make sure everything is okay before we proceed with that. And also have the budget passed before we proceed with the rate increase.
Sure, did I hear in the electric part that was taking out the 20,000 for the shop?
Yes.
Yes. And then moving on to the water and sewer fund, the most difficult one to deal with. Starting out with sewer expense will be increased effective May 1st for us. Our supplier will increase our rates, or the village will require 6% to pass on that increase to our customers. We generate about $115,000, which would cut down the deficit some. I have completed a review of 2014 and 2015, looking at if we wanted to operate the water and sewer funds more like a business with a rate of return. In other words, something that you're putting money aside for future improvements and so forth. And I heard the analysis using two different methods. We've had, I think, two different contractors come in the past, and they used two different approaches. I forwarded the information to Dave. He's a CPA as well, so he, just to make sure my numbers look reasonable and so forth. And I'm coming up with increases between 14% and almost 18%, looking at 14 and 15. And this is actually consistent with an internal analysis, if you recall, in fall of 2013, when our supplier increased rates. It was apparent then that the rates were not sufficient. So we chose to just pass along the supplier increase, but we didn't address the losses that we were currently experiencing with the water operation. And in addition, I did look at the sewer operation for fiscal years 2014 and 15. They indicate the rates for the utility were sufficient to provide a net income to cover operating costs and to maintain the sewer operations assets. Something else to add with the sewer operation, in addition to the 6% increase we're seeing May 1st, 2016, there's going to be another increase on down the road, May 1st, in May 1st, 2016, we'll see another 6% increase from our supplier.
Is that the last one that
Yes.
the sanitary district
The
scheduled?
sanitary district passed a 9-year rate increase ordinance. And it began with, the first few years, we were getting a 33% rate increase each year. For a while, the village absorbed those increases, and then eventually in 2011, we actually did start we reevaluated our rates and started charging, so it would actually cover the sewer operations. Final proposed rate for 2016 can be calculated once we have a final proposed budget. If we see changes in the cost of our insurance, that could affect it. The staff could take another look and see if we can identify some other cost-saving measures. Also, I wanted to add in, if the village wanted to have an outside for conduct a review, which we've had them come in before. Actually, I had a quote in September of 2013 when we were looking at rates. And at that time, the quote for a rate study was $17,000.
That's why we need it, but you can't kill me when I say the numbers.
The numbers are what they are,
Questions for Sherry?
Mr. Burt, is the South Salem Water Commission discussed increasing the wholesale rate or your guys' rate at all?
We're
We're hoping within the next 3 to 4 weeks to put together a 5-year capital campaign. And once we put that together, we'll have to come back and sit down and talk to both communities. But as of right now, we're not anticipating changing that rate for the 2016 year budget. We're not looking at it.
Any other budget discussion? You guys have brains fried. Yeah, one of the things that I mentioned, and it brought up last time, I really would think that the village needs to look at, and I think we can save some money by doing a organizational restructuring. I think that we have some overhead and that we can save some money in some certain areas by doing that. We're looking, as we all know, with rate increases and things like that, we're looking at costs going up, and we need to be looking at where we can be saving money in the village. And I know asking the departments to cut $26,000 out is one thing, but honestly, I would like to see $500,000 to $1 million cut out of the budget. I think it's very doable, and looking at some of the numbers and some of the line items on places where we can save in services. And, I think that there are some positions that can be outsourced or contracted out to where we can save money. I think that, there are some positions that probably could be eliminated across the board where we could save money. I know people don't like to hear those things, but with possible cuts coming from Governor Rauner in the state of Illinois, things are not looking, the projections are not looking pretty for the village of Chatham. And, with the increases in, water costs, utility costs, electric, sewer, everything. So, I think we need to dig deeper. And, me personally, as a representative, a public servant to the community, feel like, we owe it to the community to try and save them as much money as we can and to be able to operate efficiently.
I think one thing, there's so many consultant fees. What can we look at to get rid of that we could look for in a village manager? Does that make sense?
That's a whole other conversation.
I know, but that's what I'm asking. You know what I mean? Is exactly that. Is because of the fact that there are a lot of fees for that. And that's an area, you know what I mean? If we hire someone that's qualified in those areas, that can help save.
I have a question. These people may want to throw darts and poison me later, that's fine. But my first question is, in the communities around us, how many communities have deputy chiefs of police? John, can you tell me that?
How many communities?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Is it a normal position?
I know Springfield has several.
Okay, but we're not Springfield, we're 100 times smaller, but what I'm asking is,
Let's use Taylorville, they do not, but they have captain, lieutenant, they have other ranks similar.
okay.
Yes. I would say most of your towns our size are going to have something like that.
Okay.
Lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, one of those.
It's a fairly new position, right? As far as Chatham goes?
It's been 6 years.
Well, yeah, since you became chief.
Right.
Yeah. How many
And
have?
that was recommended by the past administration. Chief Barnett and Sergeant Dotson both highly recommended that because they felt there was a need.
Yeah, I knew it was new, but I couldn't. And how many communities our size have full-time CFOs? Del, do you know?
No, I do not know.
Because I didn't know if most contracted those out, or if those were, because there's a lot of companies in Springfield that can be contracted to do that, but I just don't know how many actually had them on payroll to do that. Is that something we can look at for the next time we meet and talk about budget stuff as far as?
Well, you have to have a treasurer. Now, whether that's a full-time treasurer or a part-time treasurer.
Just kind of a comparison, how many have a full-time on the books treasurer as compared to part-time.
More full, if you have an appropriation ordinance, I think most communities have a full-time treasurer. Many communities go to what they call a budget system. When you go to a budget system, then many of them do not have a full-time treasurer. It depends on how you pass the budget, is what it amounts to.
Okay. And I did get your email on the dispatchers. And Kenny, did you happen to find out, I know you said you were gonna talk to the county.
I didn't get a chance to go over and meet personally with Dave Dobson and take the tour of it. I did find, I think there's 16 communities around or so that participate in county 911 with that. We're one of the few communities, obviously, that doesn't participate because of the size and the way that we've had things set up in the past, that we do have our own dispatchers in it within the village of Chatham. What I have learned is that in terms of the issue is brought up, like if the 24/7 having water calls, a lot of other communities have a non-emergency number that's set up, that's forwarded to police officer on duty. If a call like that would come in, the officer then would put the call in to get whatever personnel would be out there from the water department or whatever in an emergency situation like that. So that's
a potential solution to the, oh my gosh, the police department's locked. You know, what do I do?
It is. I mean, I believe that that's pretty common in how the other communities handle a situation like that. So, I mean, that's what I've learned. Like I said, I'd like to go take a tour of that and meet with him personally. And because of work commitment with court and stuff, I haven't been able to get to him. So, but I did see, I mean, we did get the costs that were associated with that. And, like you said, and Matt had talked about in the costs, I mean, we're paying with benefits, everything, total with the dispatcher position, you're looking at about $327,000. And I believe that is that annual benefits that you sent us? Okay.
Something that you have to think about is, the dispatch also serves to dispatch out the water utility workers as well.
Well, I think that was one thing we just kind of discussed there.
I was thinking that was just like, they dispatch every.
Right.
All day long?
What?
All day long, 24 hours?
Here, yes, they do.
So, like I said, they have, most communities, from what I'm told, have the non-emergency number, goes in, forwards to the officer's cell phone, officer calls and puts that call in for something like that in those instances. So that's one thing I know, like I said, a restructuring. One of the other areas is IT. I think we need to look at our IT and determine where we can cut IT. I mean, I think that there's plenty of companies out there that we could look at that may be a cost savings measure with that and operating our information technology. I think we need to be looking down the road at these things, and, these are tough decisions, and I think, these are areas where we can save a significant chunk of change and eliminate some of that cost to the village.
How about a suggestion box?
Yeah, there's one right there.
Yeah.
So, does anyone have any discussion you guys done for the night with?
Well, no, I mean.
I'm saying,
Where you're coming from too, if you could, I don't know, I guess we need to hardline and propose these things. If we could have something by next board meeting, to really nail down some of the areas you're talking about. I do think that we really start thinking about a plan for the future for a lot of different areas. And I know we talk about infrastructure all the time, but we really start to have to develop a plan and really look at that comprehensive plan and how much money we can put into capital improvements to ensure that the taxpayers aren't going to, roads, sewers, your electric, it's not gonna be on the backs of taxpayers for a second time.
Well, that to me, you know, is something that's been a problem for a long time, is we, a lot of times just think too close to our head. We need to think more closely, and I think the cuts we make today will help shape Chatham and what Chatham is down the road, our capital improvements and other things that we want to do. And I think it's very important that we look at what we could do now to what we can make Chatham tomorrow.
And I'll just touch on that, the village engineer services. I know we talked about it in the budget, and we just included in the budget discussions, but, you know, I looked back at the things that we were billed for and the things, the services that we asked them to fulfill, and I just think at this point, we looked at $200,000 in expenditure to that firm, and, you know, when we're looking at everything, I think it's time to really look at that and see if there's a firm that can perform those services for cheaper.
And I think that was something you had talked about last week, that we were supposed to look at the top 20. Pardon?
Yeah, they're all.
Send them all.
I know, but did anybody then start to say, look at bids from other?
I think it's something we should do. I mean,
Yeah.
we should have a policy for, you know, for a contractor, the perpetual contract or the perpetual ordinance, I think, should be no longer an option for us. I know we've ran into that in the past, but to have something that says we're going to bid this one out for every year, this one out every 3 years, depending on the thresholds and depending on the type of service.
Yeah, those are fine. We started that early into, at least my term on, we did that with the auditors.
Correct.
Set a term on.
The only thing, and I do not agree with the state statute, but that's the way it is when it comes to professional services for engineers and architects, you cannot ask about price. You can, you cannot. You can only ask about their qualifications, and then once you get the qualifications, then you have to pick the firm that you're going to go with. Only after you pick the firm can you talk about price.
We can't figure out why we're problems.
It makes no sense unless, and this is the difference, unless you already have a working relationship with that firm. So unless we've already done business with a firm, you cannot not ask about price. I mean, I'm not opposed to going this route. It's just, it's going to be a lot different than what we saw tonight when we had the attorneys up there talking about fee structures.
But there could be a revision to state statute by...
I've tried.
Okay, I was suggesting you do that, but...
Can I get that?
Is that all you want to talk about? You just want to include that authority? You want to go on any more on the next item, village engineers? You just
Yeah, I
include that.
Include that in that discussion.
Okay, well then we'll move down to number 7. Forensic audit. I know at one point, board members expressed an interest in doing a forensic audit. Didn't want it to get, pushed to the wayside since it was brought up, and try to regenerate the conversation if we want to proceed with a forensic audit, number 1, and how we want to proceed with, detailing what we feel as a village board should be included in, a forensic audit, because an audit, as you guys are well aware, can range from a complete audit to where, we may want to decide that we want to nail it down and nail the scope down to, certain issues or certain items between the Village of Chatham's relationship and the South Sangamon Water Commission. There are groups, our favorite word, consultants, that come in and help villages decide, what to look for, that are professionals in auditing. As a village board member and the other board members, I think it would be, if we're really wanting to pursue an audit to define the relationship, I think it would be money well spent, so that we have the scope of the RFP drafted. That way the auditor that ends up getting the RFP or awarded the RFP knows what their job is to come in terms of saving the village money, and also, in terms of the work that we're looking at for them to do. So, that's just my thought. I would be in favor of proceeding with possibly seeking out consultants to help draft the RFP for what we're wanting in an audit, if an audit's what we want to move forward with.
You know, I know we talked about this briefly too. I guess my concern is, and I would strongly support a forensic audit of the South Salmon Water Commission, and then construction of this plant and whatnot. But the commission being a separate entity, and what kind of issues are we gonna run into there? I mean, essentially, I guess we could pass a resolution, but that doesn't require the South Salmon Water Commission to even participate in this. And to me, it's a lot of money, although I would want to see it done, maybe even the commission supporting it as well, but that's my concern from there's total separate governmental entity.
I agree with you, Mark. I think we could request our South Segment Water Commission board member to bring this up, but we do not control the other two votes. So I don't know how far we would get with having just one vote. And it would still be up to him. I mean, we could request, but it would still be up to him of how he would vote.
I mean, even if they did pass it, is that something that we would pay for, that they'd be willing to share the cost?
Oh, I think, yeah.
It would become an operating cost, passed on like any other cost gets incurred.
Sorry.
Well, I think we can request an RFP and maybe have our current auditor do that, since they will obviously be able to.
Completely different field than what our current auditor does.
So are you talking about something like?
And financial auditing are two.
They have forensic auditors, don't they?
I doubt that they have.
They don't?
Forensic auditing is an investigative and an expert.
Most of them have, most accounting firms have. Okay. I've talked to two that do.
They may have fraud investigators, which is different. But when you start to talk about forensic audit, generally what you're implying is some nature or level of criminal activity to a point where you're looking to go to court and establish evidence in a court proceeding. And that's a question you do with your attorney. If that's the route you're implying, and if that's a cause you think is there, you should get your attorney retaining a forensic auditor. You can speak to establishing a client privilege and everything that goes along with protection of evidence.
I disagree with you in the sense that you're implying that there's criminal activity when you're conducting a forensic audit. All the forensic audit means, and the word forensic alone means the collection or perseverance of evidence in the forensics of it. And you're basically trying to link a trail of where we would be looking basically to link a trail of where funding went, what it was used for, because honestly, with just what you're saying, the financial, I don't know if that can be done, because I don't know if the proper records were kept. I mean, there's a lot of things like that that could possibly be out there that may need to be investigated and dug into, not necessarily implying criminal activity, but just to gather information. I mean, obviously from a forensic audit, yes, if there is criminal activity discovered, there is the possibility that
That's when the attorneys.
that an attorney or the state's attorney's office or the federal attorneys would be able to step in and further investigate that matter to, decide on what course of action that they want to take.
So I guess where I'm not clear is what is the goal that you're after? When you're looking for a service, what product are you trying to get somebody or find somebody that would produce what product?
Well, yeah, I think everybody wants to know. I mean, we're talking about 55 million in principal and interest, and people want to know how we got to that point.
Yeah, we want to know how we came from 14 to 55.
So
55 to 60, possibly.
So, and this is what I'm trying to get at, because I think you throw forensic accounting out as a term, and I don't think that's what you're trying to get. Are you trying to get a capital recapitulation? Are you trying to get here's the invoices that were paid that led to the capitalization that's at the plant right now. Here's how the fixed asset costs have been derived. that's one thing, those things already exist. You don't need to pay anything, they're all there. And they're in the initial audit files, and they're in the initial work papers of an audit firm that would have put the depreciation schedules together on the plan. When you capitalize all those assets and purchase, all those invoices that you paid, they trace into a depreciation schedule. So when they put a fixed asset schedule, all that stuff already exists. And you don't need to pay anybody to go put it back together again if that's all you're looking for.
Well, if those exist, I mean, the question's been asked several times. How do we go from 14 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 55? We never have been given a real answer. I think that's what we want this forensic audit for, is to get a real, true, evidence-based answer. Not just an, I don't know, we're just there.
You're not going to get that answer at this meeting.
No, you won't hear.
They're not our questions, and they're not answers that can be provided here.
Yeah, we're paid to get answers.
They're at the commission. That's where that question needs to be.
We've asked for a year. If they're using my tax dollar to pay for that plan, I want the answers.
Well, and I understand that, Andrea, and what I'm saying is just be careful. I don't want to sit in a spot where we engage a firm and start looking at a $60,000 or $70,000 bill to recreate something that's already there.
I agree with you there, but where's that paper trail you're talking about?
Yeah, where's
They're
all over.
But if you can find 500,000 that was misused and put somewhere where it shouldn't have been, that easily pays for that $70,000 audit.
If it's there, so this is what I'm saying. If you think it's there, if you have something, if anybody, because I know a lot of people have been looking into it, there's been a lot of FOIA requests out there. I tell you what, I am an accountant, and the day that you bring me the stuff that says, here's where we think the misuse was, or here's where something was misappropriated and taken out of there, that's something you can go after. You can never recapture a bad decision. If you feel it's a bad decision, the decision was made. If it was misused funds, that's where you can go. Bring me that, I will be the first person behind it.
But as an accountant, don't you think it's a little weird that 14 to where we are now?
Living in the state of Illinois, I don't think anything's weird, man.
Well, but then, as funny as it may be, that's an answer for a lot of things, but this is true dollars we're talking about.
This is also.
Billions of dollars.
You are quoting an estimate from 1990 something.
Oh, okay, that's one.
That's a huge jump.
And then,
It's also.
in the 2000s.
15-year cost difference.
But in 15 years, you probably had a $30 million increase, so in 15 years, explain that.
Not
I mean, it's still $30 million.
Matt, the hotel that I built today costs twice as much as it did 5 years ago.
But the village of Chatham's not paying for your hotel.
But you're quoting a price estimate from 1998.
On part of it. On part of it.
I think it was maybe
Oh, so we.
89. So when you throw
Go to the year 2000.
when you throw 14
And from
million
now.
out there and say it was 14 million, and then that's a little disingenuous, and it's fine. That's where it started when they were discussing. What I'm saying is, be clear about what it is you're asking for. If you're going to push our commission to chase some financial, recapitulation or re-asset.
Or financial responsibility.
Huh?
Financial responsibility.
That's not even the right word there. You're asking, you're asking for rebuilding an asset is what you're looking for. You want a paper trail. I get it. I know what you're looking for. That's not a forensic audit. That's something different. Be clear. What I want you to do is be clear about what it is that you're asking for. What is the end product that you want? You can find that without chasing a big expense.
Paper trail and all the money.
Well, we just want to know from 1 penny where that first penny went, and then farther down the line, another 3 million, where those 3 million pennies went.
So you asked for the, didn't you ask for the entire list?
Well, it doesn't make any sense for millions and millions and millions and millions being spent when you're, the green sand filter, okay, it costs $1.5 million, but that's not 30 million.
To answer your question, yes, I think that it is necessary, because I think there's a lot of cloudy area, because we keep going back to the same thing.
Yep.
And it's the same downplay, or the same downside that I talked about 2 weeks ago with the commission form of government. I think that there's some cloudy areas possibly, and whether the Village of Chatham should have been responsible for certain items in the construction or in the process of the water plant, or whether South Sangamon Water Commission should have been responsible. And I don't think that there is a clear division, or has been a clear division of funds, assets, resources, whatever you call them, and how those were allocated and used for the project.
It's like the water commission paid for it and Chatham paid for it.
And, you know, for instance, I mean,
Double.
and I'm not, you know, saying this happened, I'm just throwing it out there. For instance, I heard that, you know, we had village workers working on water plant stuff on village time. Things of that nature. I mean, to me, if they're not an employee of the Water Commission, and they're an employee of the Village of Chatham, and they're doing Water Commission work, if that was happening, that's completely wrong. They're paid to work for the Village of Chatham, they weren't paid to be working for the South Sangamon Water Commission at the time. Things of that nature. I'm saying, you know, those things, you know, are things that I think people want to know and find out where that division is of what South Sangamon Water Commission was responsible for, should have been responsible for, and what the Village of Chatham should have been responsible for.
I'd like to see the companies that did the work. Is it like our consulting company, a few little connections here and there, and the price jumped up? I mean, there's a lot of things out there. But we, as the village citizens, are not getting the answers, and that's what you're pushing for. I'm not saying you gotta count for every nickel out there, but we have not gotten any answers on any dollar amounts on that. Nothing. Same old crap, different day.
It just seems like to me that our employees and our village staff, et cetera, and it goes to, yes, we can say we have a close relationship with South Sangamon Water Commission when it's favorable, and then we say, no, we don't have a close relationship when it's not favorable. To me, it seems like, you know, our people do a lot of work that probably should be commission work that's being done, and if that's commission work that needs to be done, then there needs to be a clear separation of that, because I expect village employees, when they're employed by the Village of Chatham, to work for the Village of Chatham and to work on the Village of Chatham's issues, not to be handling the South Sangamon Water Commission issues.
I think that this whole thing has been cloudy from the get-go. How was the land obtained? Who took the land for it? Who paid for the land? Then we go into the plant, and it's a boondoggle. It's from the get-go. This has been something that has been clouded over, and things have not come forth, and this has got to stop, because we can't afford to pay these bills for this plant. We do not have a village of millionaires here. People might live well by being good savers or by working extra hours, but we do not have millionaires to pay for this plant. And continuing to ignore things and hide things and obfuscate and convolute is not making it any better for us. And we are bound and determined to find out what's going on here.
And we ain't going away.
No, and we're not going away.
From my standpoint, it sounds like the consensus on the board, to me, is that we do want to move forward with the forensic audit to get the full answer and find out where these things went.
Yeah. How do we want to move forward, though?
I vote yes.
Do we want to move forward with a group to come in to help draft an RFP? Utilize a professional service to come in and help craft an RFP for accounting firms or auditing firms to bid on?
I still
You
don't
better answer Joe's question first.
Yeah. I still don't understand how we could do a forensic audit on another unit of local government.
Well, I understand that clear division, but I would think, you know, like we said, when it's convenient for us to be 90% of the water commission, I would hope that our water commissioner would relay this to the water commission, and, you know, there should be nothing, you know, per se to hide, or nothing that, you know, could come of this. besides, gaining history or background out of it, and, hopefully they would fully cooperate with us since we're a 90% customer of them.
And that's fine, but we do not control the other two votes.
That's fine.
And
It doesn't have anything to do with it.
right, our,
And we don't,
I mean, I see no reason the other
The
two,
first $3 million to start.
I see no reason the other two votes would not vote in favor of this unless they're trying to hide something
Yes.
or block something, because this is just finding out as much information, not only for us, the 98% customer, but the other part too, and other future customers, so when a problem like this may come down the road again, or someone may question it, we have this audit here that says this is where it went, this is what happened, and this is why we are here where we are now.
And if they don't, then we'll just conduct one within the village of Chatham and have the village utilize resources within it. It'll limit the scope even further. And then we can see how great of a partnership we have with the South Sangamon Water Commission.
Ken, can I say something?
Sure.
Back when the village of Chatham was the general contractor for the transmission line. Not the plant, not the well fields, but the transmission line. That was done prior to me, but village was the general contractor. We hired companies to supply equipment and manpower on an hourly basis to lay the water mains. Bids were received prior to my involvement in the thing to furnish the pipes, to furnish the fittings, to furnish the boring, the directional borings, the boring, the jacks. That was all done by bids. But Chatham furnished labor. They furnished equipment, and they got reimbursed. Every month, they would turn in their time for their dump trucks, for their employees or whatever, for help fusing the pipe, for unloading the pipe, for distributing the pipe, all of that. Chatham was the general contractor. It wasn't South Sangamon. The bills went to Sherry. She would pay them and then send the same amount to South Sangamon to be reimbursed. That was a monthly routine. So we were responsible, the village was for that.
I understand.
Village employees at the plant, I don't know what they did there other than electricity to the wells.
And I understand that, but, obviously, my perspective of this is that villages and village governments aren't in the business of being general contractors. And, yeah, you can say that, and it may be true that they were reimbursed for their time that they laid within the village, but the key component that I look at is that they were spending time doing water business when they're village employees, and they should have been doing village business.
Exactly.
And whether you want to say being a contractor is village business or not, to me, I throw my hands up, that's sketchy, but to me, they shouldn't have been involved with it, because in the first place, if it were up to me, the village of Chatham would have never been a general contractor in laying a water plant. I don't think we have and no offense to the engineers and consultants and people that are involved, but I don't think that we had quite the, expertise to take on a project of that size.
Now, at the plant, we were not the general contractor. That was all bid out separately. Chatham, the village was only on the transmission line.
I just can't wrap my head around how we could spend this kind of money and not own it. If we gave them $35 million and we're still putting money into it and we don't own it. It's a gift. Well, crap, you guys, I need a few million. Just hand it over and off they take care.
You get the
it's-
not on your tab. Yeah.
So, like I said, do we want to move forward with looking at a consulting firm to come in and start drafting the RFP specs for that? And if so, how do we want to go about contacting, groups to do that, to get bids? Because I think it should be bid out, at least the consultant part.
I mean, I have no idea what the cost is, but I think, like we said, it should be bid out, so.
well, RFP is pretty minimal for somebody to come in and do that. but that allows it to be more of an accurate audit versus somebody coming in and just saying, oh, I'm gonna charge 10 grand when now you know the detail of it versus it's actually 40 or 50 grand.
There has to be a scope
Yeah.
of the work. So I guess Del, will you contact, some of the auditing groups? I know Kerberek and Breckel is probably in it. Some of the bigger ones would probably come out, Sikich, who are some of the other big auditing groups that may be able to assist in that.
This is to write the RFP.
For the RFP specs.
I think they do RFP, they can't do.
It may
Yeah.
preclude some of them, but I mean, are there any other auditing firms? Dave, do you know of any?
Any of them would respond on something like this, because it's, if that's paperwork, it's essentially what you're asking for. You don't have to be located here.
And we could ask our current, the group that did the audit, the last audit for the village too.
BBO.
Yeah.
Because Sikich already does work for us too, don't they?
They used to.
Or they used to, okay, I remember the gym. Because I remember the little bike committee.
And maybe, do we want to have them come in to talk to them about, at the next committee meeting?
If we're done on this issue, then I will make a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay,
The ayes carried. Mark.
What is this? Random board for that?